Guess we'll just go ahead and get her going. Phil and Nipper should be in here any minute. There is Phyllis. Hello.
Live.
Can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Because I got some pretty bad rain behind me.
Yeah, I can. I got this new mic, so I have it off to the side, and just checking to see how well it works.
So we're live, but we're like 7 minutes early.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. Like you said, you were setting up at like 12, and then Cox said it started at 12 because I guess he can't read, and
Right.
That old chestnut.
So, first of all, love the new background. Absolutely love it. Fantastic. We've joined the 21st century.
All this fancy stuff.
I know. I absolutely love it. So, Nip is ready too, right? Did he click the link? Is he coming in?
I don't know.
Okay.
He said, "How do I join?" I said, "Click the link." So.
Okay.
But this is a particularly special episode because Thomas Irvin, who joins the chat all the time, gave me one of these Borp Futuro, which is one of my favorite sticks by them, and I haven't had one in a very long time, and he brought me one, and I was super pumped about it, so
awesome.
It was awesome. He came and smoked like 2 cigars with me the other day at work while he was in Edisto on vacation. He drove down, and I love it. So
excellent. I am smoking my birthday stick, the LFD Colorado Oscuro. There it is. Like it.
Top 5, man.
And I crown cut it because it's big enough that it can be, and I love it.
Yeah.
I can't wait to spark it up. So, do you want to touch base on the network a little bit?
Yeah.
By the way, I think I already asked you, but audio is coming in okay on my end, just because the clutter is going crazy right behind me.
Yeah, no, I can't hear anything, honestly. But
awesome. So let's hear about the network, man.
Yeah. So I was taking a shower the other night. Happy birthday, Jeff says.
Oh, thank you, Jeff.
It is Phil's birthday.
Thank you to all who have given me beautiful birthday wishes.
Just a boy, almost a man.
Almost a man.
So yeah, the network, basically I was in the shower like a week ago and I was thinking, I was like, having all these pages and stuff is kind of a lot to keep up with.
You think?
Like consistently, not necessarily difficult, but just to make sure that I'm giving each its own, like giving each enough attention.
Of course.
Because ChondroCast stuff, like I used to post on that regularly and that really slowed down.
It got backburnered. It did.
It did. But then I was like, well, why wouldn't I just put them all together? Because that's like, I remember Dave Scheisterman was like, I can't, like, you literally put out so much stuff, I can't keep up with it. And so ever since he told me that at Carver Fest in like 2018, I think about it all the time. And so I was like, well, why don't I just put them all together in a single
network
thing? Yeah. And so then I was like, so freaking pumped about the idea, man. I couldn't even sleep that night. Like it took me like a hot minute to fall asleep.
You were jazzed.
I was. And so yesterday I decided to go ahead and pull the trigger, and I got a logo made, and now it's...
You got a logo made pretty quick.
Yeah, $5, man. I paid like $25 for that logo too. So.
Awesome. And they give you like 5 or 6 different options. Right?
Depending on the artist, like you find an artist that does like the style you're kind of looking for, and you can look under like the budget you're looking for, because all the artists have like basic, standard, and like premium packages that you can choose from as far as what you get when you buy a logo through them. And I just this one girl that did it, I think she's fairly new to selling on Fiverr like as an artist, and I don't know, man. She knocked it out of the park. I sent her like a very rough sketch. I'll show you what I sent her.
Yeah, let's see it.
See, it's horrible. And I think she was in Indonesia, which a lot of them on Fiverr are. They're either like European, Pakistani, Indonesian, Philippines. There's a lot of artists doing stuff, and they're in third world countries, or not third world, but other countries, which kind of makes life kind of nice because their time schedule's different, so they're usually available fairly quickly.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
let me see. I did a screenshot. Let me find it. Oh, buddy.
By the way, thank you, Brennan, for the birthday wishes. And I am not turning 25 again, sadly.
Y'all ain't ready for this.
That is fantastic.
I was like, I want the Wi-Fi symbol.
That's awesome.
So
it's like a 6-year-old drew it. I love it.
Yeah, pretty much. And I mean, what she came back with was like dead on. Just looked better. Just looked good.
And I love the colors, man. The colors pop.
Yeah. I wanted something simple, but
eye catching.
But memorable. Nothing too fancy. Something that prints easy on stuff. Just nothing too complicated. Because I'm always like with PCE logo. Like there's kind of a lot going on that one. So getting that one printed on shirts, it wasn't actually horrible. I was wearing my PCE shirt earlier. It got dog hair all over it, but it has a lot going on. But it doesn't have too much going on. So
yeah, I have pictures of the shirts I had Billy make for me, and they came out fantastic. Did we show them on here? I can't remember. I don't think we did.
I haven't seen the shirts. I've seen the logo.
Well, then let's show the shirts. So I made the logo specifically because I wanted it to look like cave paintings, like Aboriginal cave paintings, like ochre. You know, when like they put their hand on the wall and they blow the ochre on the stone, and it lasts for millennia. So I was kind of going for that, and then I realized that the way that I did it, I could clean it up and make it crisp, and it would probably be better in terms of like a vinyl decal for a truck window or for the T-shirt. And dude, Billy hit it out of the park. Home run for Billy.
Yeah, he's been getting really good at that shirts and vinyl, and he's been doing really, really good with that stuff, man.
So let me find. All right, what is this picture of? So here is the legit logo, which obviously only is going to look good on the interwebs. So that's it. I'm kind of proud of it.
It's awesome, dude.
I like it. I think it came out pretty all right. It all started with a sketch of somebody took a picture of an Amy eye from the top, like on paper. And I just took that picture on my phone. I just held it up next to the paper, and I just rough sketched out the silhouette of the gecko. Then I took a cell phone picture of it, and then I used my editing software, if you want to call it that, and I just did that. And I think it came out pretty awesome. So we took that picture, and then I had Billy do this. Here we go. Sorry, I'm not that quick with my touchpad mouse. There you go.
Oh, man.
So obviously, the colors are not that bright. They're actually more of the colors
like orange.
It is, and there's a lot of washed outness in that photo because it's just a cell phone photo. But the color is actually called orange soda, and it legit looks like orange soda. It's awesome. So we're actually I'm gonna have those for sale at Daytona. Billy was kind enough to let me put a couple on his table, and I'll also have some Nephris hats that basically have an Amy eye on the front. It just says Nephris. So people like knobtail hats, they want to get a knobby hat, they can. And then here's the vinyl decals, which I'm probably going to give away to most people, but these are the individual geckos. And it all started because he was making these, right? And then I guess when he cut out the gecko here, he had these extra geckos. He's like, oh man, I can't throw these geckos away. So he made them into, wrong way. He made them into their own sticker.
Yeah, that makes sense.
How funny is it when people scroll through their photos and it's like, oh no, there's a nude. Oh, it's not a nude, it's a gecko. Meh, meh.
Oh, it's so good. It's been so long.
Well, I guess if Nip Nip isn't hopping in, I guess I'm going to spark it up then.
Yeah, Jeff, Billy has been doing the. I pretty much put Billy in charge of all the shirts and stuff. I was like, he's like, what should we do about shirts? He's like, I want to make them. You know, let's see if we can make them work by doing them ourselves. I was like, he had the machine, he had the materials. I said, go for it, do whatever you want, go all out. Anything that gets it off of my plate, basically. It could be hot pink for all I care. He's like, just do it. Get her done. And I had my HM shirts, which I would be wearing one right now, except my dog decided to eat a hole through the dead center of both of them.
Really?
Yep. He's like a freaking caterpillar, dude.
Yeah. But yeah, the HM shirt that I got from you guys is awesome, and I'm very, very happy with it. And I know that the ones that Billy made look fantastic. I can't wait to get one of those. And I can't wait to get my own shirt. He has all the shirts. So I got to wait for Daytona, which is going to be awesome. Can't wait to do it. It's crazy because like he's the closest one of all of my snake friends, and he's still 3 hours away.
See, I think maybe Nipper's all like dementia's kicking in. He's maybe he's just confused.
Is he on a real computer?
I don't know. He's
Thank
like,
you.
He's not in the chat. So. Good job, Cox. So update. None of those bears are hatching.
Oh yeah? Why is that?
I think I had them too hot after talking to Rob on THP the other night. I talked to like basically, if you heard the episode, you heard us talk about it, but I basically said, here's what I'm cooking them at. He said, that's a bit high. He's like, what day are they at? And I told him, he's like, well, give them, go cut the two bottom ones open at least. Those are the two healthiest looking ones. And I did right after the show, and none of them were like full term, but they were pretty late term. Like there was one in particular that's still like none of the color had really come in yet. Like you could see scales, you could see scutes.
So you pulled them all out of the egg?
I didn't pull them out of the egg entirely, but I opened them and checked to see if they were alive, and none of them were. So.
Okay. Damn.
Yep. Swing and a miss.
Live and learn, man.
Yeah.
We've all been there.
Really not that worried about it, and try again. Happens. No big deal. Just gotta take it in stride.
Yeah. So. Side note, the Oscuro is tip-top, man. It is bold and flavorful.
These things are good, dude.
Way bigger gauge than I'm used to with my tiny little bird mouth.
I actually think they're one of the milder variety of LFDs.
I could see that.
It's definitely not as peppery and spicy.
Yeah. It's good, though. It's very good. Hey, there he is.
Perhaps. How you doing?
What's up, buddy?
Go.
Happy birthday, Phil.
Thank you, my man. Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, good to see you both. You're talking about cigars, though, aren't you? Which I know nothing about.
That's all right.
And I'm drinking good old American tea.
That's not tea, mate.
This is tea.
That's not tea. Tea is in a nice little china cup, not whatever that bucket is that you're drinking.
It's unsweet, though. Publix brand. It's not even that good.
I like that.
That's cool.
Somebody sent me a thing about on very good, Cox. Somebody sent me a video on Instagram of a bunch of Royal Marines inside of like an Abrams tank, and they basically it was a 4th of July thing, and it was like basically congratulations on your independence, you treasonous fucks, but this is how you make proper English tea. And they used, I guess, in every single Royal British Marine tank is a hot water machine.
Yeah, every single tank produced for the British military has an internal tea maker in it. That's true. That's
Absolutely awesome. And you see these two guys, and they pull out the tea maker.
What a bunch of divas.
His little bag, and they had. I guess he had like a little igloo cooler for the milk, and it was an awesome video. Awesome.
And that is why we conquered the universe, because we drink tea.
Y'all may have taken India, but you didn't get us, buddy.
Yeah, we did for a little while. Then you chucked all our tea away, which was just horrendous.
Kick him when he's down.
Here we are. We said not only are we going to blow up your tea, but we're also going to make it in a way that will make you absolutely cringe.
That is criminal. That ranks along with
It's the biggest middle finger.
And child abuse.
It makes you wonder how many people tried to drink it out of the water.
Oh, full American bean water.
So, how are we going to kick this shindig?
Why don't we start by having Nipper send me all of his Boiga, and then we'll just go from there.
I've got a new Boiga coming, mate.
Yeah?
I've got Scarmadon on the way. How do you feel about that?
Makes me feel kind of funny, like when I used to climb the rope in gym class.
I can't wait. It's one of the species I've never had before. I'm really looking forward to it.
That's awesome.
Man, I keep seeing like odd species in that group that I've never even heard of before, and I'm like, what the hell is that? Like what's the one that I was showing y'all the other day, Phil? Was it the Flavaculata or something like that?
No, it was with a T.
Flavaviridis.
Flavaviridis.
Yeah.
No, what's the one with the T? It looks like tree bark.
That's a Trimeresurus, isn't it? I don't think it's a.
No, there is. Here, I'll show you. I'll screen share. Yeah, because that's like I had the same reaction. I was like, "What the hell is that?" And it's literally like if you took an irregularis and you crossed it with a cyanea. Like this is what you get. Like, is that not if you just took both and just said we're gonna make a irregularis green?
Is sexy, and I've never seen it before.
I haven't either. I was like,
do you think that it's not really a Boiga? That it's that someone has renamed it?
No, it totally is.
Okay.
Yeah,
I wonder. Go ahead.
I was saying, looking at the head shape, yeah, it looks bang on.
I think maybe unless it's like maybe like a natural integrator hybrid or something, and they just decided to like give it its own thing, which I don't think would be the case. I don't know, but
I've not seen it in the hobby at all.
I haven't either, but it's my new favorite.
It's a stunning looking thing.
But it's got that same stripe like irregularis have, like right behind the eye, and like it's literally like they said, let's make a brown tree snake green.
That's beautiful.
And even the eye is green, which I thought was cool.
I'll make a couple of calls. I'll have it by the end of the day.
Nice. Excellent.
I don't even not believe you. Like Nipper would. Like literally. He'd message me tonight and be like, yeah, I got two on the way.
I got two on the way. Well, I don't know what it's. I mean, I think things are slightly different for you in the States at the moment. But because of lockdown, I've got a number of snakes that I've purchased, but I just haven't been able to collect yet. It's very frustrating. I've got a pair of Cyanea just sat there waiting for me to collect. Waiting to, the Cyanodon I won't get till September.
Damn.
Because I need to pick them up in Europe, and we're not cleared for any shows in Europe till September. But they're with Chris Lagvard. You know Chris?
Yeah.
The man.
He is the Boiga king. He really is.
The king.
Yeah, his collection is ridiculous, fantastic. So I'm getting the Cyanodon from him. Got a nice pine snake a couple of days ago though.
Oh yeah, nice. You were saying Pituophis are actually like not very common.
Oh mate, they fetch good money in the UK and Europe, and they're so hard to get. So hard to get. They're just becoming really on point at the moment. If you're talking something like the black pine snake, is that Wadingi? I think it is. You're looking at €500 each. which
I heard they're still going. They're going for like 200 or 300 here, if I'm not mistaken. So they're not that far off. I've looked at them. There's a bunch on Morph Market right now, but
the red balls, Kankakee balls, and things like that, you're looking about 350 each, maybe more.
Kankakees are nice. Like if there was any Pituophis I'd be getting into, it'd be Northerns and it'd be Kankakees because those things. I love the contrast on those things. Just
incredible, absolutely. I mean, when you see the lime bred red ones, incredible, hard to beat snakes. So that's a little rabbit hole I'm going down at the moment. I'm trying to organise some Ruth and I from a contact in Europe at the moment. So I don't even want to know how much they're going to cost me, but it'll be worth it.
I'll tell you, talking to Chris and his Mexicans he has, I think the Mexicans do it for me, man.
Those bright orange ones?
Yeah, and just like obviously every pit changes from head to tail, but the dynamicness of, if that's even the word, dynamicness, the contrast between the thirds of the animal in those Mexicans are just stellar. Absolutely stellar.
Janai, isn't it? I think the Mexicans are
Janai. Yeah.
Incredibly
Depi too, right?
Say again?
There's also, it's Depi and then Depi Janai, right?
That's right, yeah. I think the Janai are the really contrasting light coloured ones. Yeah. Incredibly hard for us to get over here. I don't know what the availability is like for you lot, but for us.
People have them, people breed them, but it's very niche in terms of like only the pit guys have them. It's not like, oh, I want to go buy a pet bull snake. I'm going to go get, a Janai. That just doesn't happen. It's all like you find the selective breeder like Chris who has them and go from there.
Yeah, Brendan said he has a trio right now.
Oh, awesome.
That's nice.
Awesome.
I want Northerns, but I want like local Northerns.
Yeah.
I don't want New Jersey Northerns. I want South Carolina, like low country.
Isn't there, my memory's terrible. I've been on nights and things, so my brain
You're old. Okay.
I am old. He's old now. I am proper old now. What is the locality for bull snakes? There's one locality that get a lot bigger than the other.
There's New Jersey Giants in the Pines, but I don't know if that's a legitimate.
Well, there's also Oregon too, right? Doesn't Oregon have some giant bulls?
I'm not sure. I think there's New Jersey ones.
They have giant trees, so it fits.
Yeah, but yeah, the Northerns, very underrated snake in my opinion. I've got a lovely trio of them. I think they're fantastic to keep. Get breeding though. Get some nice high white ones. Line breed them. They'll be amazing snakes.
Yeah. I've not found a Florida one yet, and that's on my list of Florida snakes I got to find. And I have some friends that have found little ones, 2 foot, 3 foot, and then I've got one friend who has property just like off the beaten path in the middle of the state, and he says that he put some carpet out, and he'll get 5-6 footers, and they're just bone white with gray saddles and gray bellies, gorgeous.
Superb. Something else that's on my list. I need more space and more money and more time.
How many snakes you got right now?
We all.
Well, I think I've had a conversation with you both privately. When I moved to my new place, I thought I'm going to really limit the amount of snakes I have. Before I moved, I had about 140 snakes. And it becomes it takes over, all your spare time is cleaning and feeding and prep.
Yeah.
And I thought, right, when I move, I'm just going to keep a very small number of snakes that I really, really enjoy. So I limited myself to 30 snakes. I'm now up to 50.
That's all right.
To be fair, you two are to blame for half of it. I've just got this, or have you seen this? And I'm like, I need those.
Yeah, but the difference is that we fantasize about it, but we can't get it. You fantasize it and go, I know a guy in Zurich.
Yeah, right.
Europe is dangerous. Literally, I know I keep banging on about it, but you can get anything. We have no fish and game licensing or anything like that. There's the thing at the moment that I keep getting offered that's not my cup of tea is shinglebacks. Yeah. There's a lot of naughty shinglebacks out at the moment. Really? Somebody's filled a suitcase up and done an airport run from Australia or something, or FedEx the load over. It happened. Yeah.
Well, I remember, when I was a kid and talking to a lot of the old timers that are either, long since deceased or just really, really old. Some of these guys are like in their 90s or whatever, but they used to tell me stories about back in the day. They used to get a license for nuisance black cockatoos, and they used to net gun the entire tree, and they would get like 400 black cockatoos out of one tree, and then they would, the permit was for 380, so they'd let a handful go and then just ship them all to wherever they wanted to, and then at the same time they would get really, really greedy. And this is probably in the late 80s. They would buy a VCR in Sydney from an electronics store, and they would unscrew the VCR and take it apart, and then they would find something that didn't need to be there, like a mounting bracket or like the rewind feature on the VCR. So like they would totally take out the rewind machine, the rewind part, and they would pack that VCR full of film canisters with little geckos and like little Gayra and some Stenophorus and like little stuff that they could shove in the film canister, screw the VCR back together, and then mail it to San Francisco or Tokyo or wherever. And then if customs wanted to put a tape in it, it would play, it would record whatever. And that's just how they did it. It's crazy that to think that things like that still go on,
Well, wildlife crime is, I think, the second biggest money maker after drugs. And it's above people trafficking and above firearms trafficking. It's there's a very famous story of a chap caught at a European airport, and the reason he was searched was he had a load of film canisters, and nobody takes film photography anymore. It's just not a thing. So I think out of interest, they was just intrigued, and when they opened the film canisters up, he'd done exactly that. He cut an actual roll of film in half. So if you open the film canister, the top half looked like a roll of film inside, but when you pulled it out, they was dart frogs, illegal collection of wild dart frogs.
Wow.
Well, you think about it too, like the single, like the sheer amount of animals you have to get and send just to make sure there's a certain number that actually makes it over there alive.
Oh, it's horrendous. I've seen at the shows and various other things. I've seen Coke bottles, liter Coke bottles, full of Humilio darts, strawberry dart frogs, and things like that. All wild, or terrible.
Yeah.
And as you say, how many are going to actually make it? They're so dehydrated and stressed by the time they get here. It's horrendous.
I wouldn't know. I haven't seen mine in freaking weeks.
You don't. If you own that, basically, you're just own an aquarium full of plants. That's it.
I still want to get a male. I just haven't gotten around to it. And I don't know why those aren't captive bred. Like, no one has captive bred. They don't sound like they're that difficult of all the Pamilio. They sound like they're actually probably some of the easiest to get.
Because I think they're coming in volume and they're cheap. That's why.
Exactly that. I mean, we've seen a turnaround now, to go full circle, we've seen a turnaround now in more captive bred Boiga, but that's fairly recent. Prior to that, there's such a cheap import snake, nobody bothered. I'm just getting a couple of pairs of Melanota at the moment. You don't want to know how cheap they are. It's obscene.
They're cheap here. You can get them for like $100.
Well,
yeah,
you get them a lot cheaper than that, depending on if they're imports.
That's what I've been seeing them for sale on, like Underground and Triple L. Like they all sell them for $100.
That's a fabulous snake.
Yeah,
but unfortunately it's disposable, and as in all things that are cheap, I don't think people take the time and trouble to look after them properly. Or certainly not put the effort into breeding them.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But I feel like if we had enough, like Pumilio, for example, if you had a regular, steady breeding group and you had them at a price that wasn't ridiculous, for the sake of sort of turning that table in a sense to making them where they're more available, but they're also not imports and people are going to have the best success with them. I feel like that's not a bad thing to do or shoot for.
Yeah.
No, I would agree. I mean, if you look at some of the tinks, the rarer tinks that are available in Europe now, 2 or 3 years ago, they're all smuggled animals.
Yeah.
Now people are starting to breed them. Please, I'm not sure how you say it. Is it Tanamaka?
I think it's Tumumake, I think.
Yeah, that one. The prices of those have dropped to like €60 each now.
Yeah.
They were, a couple of years ago, wild caught smuggled in, you're looking at €200 each. So I think that's positive that they're being bred now if they've got some in. But,
there's a handful of guys that have them in the States now. I know the guy at TCS Darts, he got in a big group of them. I mean, a ton. And people, of course, like the dart frog community here, immediately freaked out because they were like, "You're not supposed to have those." And he's like, "They're imports, but they're legal imports. They came from a breeder in Europe. Like, they're captive bred, idiot." And people, for some reason, had a hard time grasping that. And there were some guys that were still like, "It's wrong." And he's like, he didn't take them. He didn't buy them from somebody who took them. He bought them from somebody who bred them.
Yeah.
He paid the buttload of money it took to ship over, because he's in like California or something. He like cross country, like literally across the world.
Yeah. How does that work in terms of, I believe you're having problems in the States now with new importations of carpet pythons because officially there's been no imports legally of carpet pythons. How will that work with things like mysteriosus darts and things like that there's never been a legal collection of them, and yet they're reasonably common in Europe now?
It comes down to the host country. So from what I've gathered, and Justin, please chime in on this as well, from what I've gathered is that Australia has a master list of species from 1991 or whatever that they say, okay, every single animal on this list was at one point legitimately exported out of Australia. If it's not on this list, it's contraband. Doesn't matter if it's been bred for 30 years or whatever, it's contraband. So they gave that list to the U.S. Customs and Fish and Wildlife, and now it's at the discretion of the agent who opens the box. So you have these gentlemen who import legitimate captive bred, desert monitors from Australia that were bred in Europe. They import them to New York. Well, guess what? That New York guy says, these aren't bred in Europe. These aren't from Germany, captive bred. These are smuggled, and they seize the shipment. And you know what happens to those animals? They either get euthanized on purpose or they die in a warehouse.
Well, that's kind of the thing is like, I would hope that customs people kind of understand that if it's coming from a certain, like coming from Europe, and there's documentation that says these were bred in Europe, and I mean, God forbid you have a guy that just doesn't like you, or B is just having a crappy day.
You got it.
And you're unfortunately the target of that frustration.
Of course.
I would think that there would be some open-mindedness. Like, obviously, it's coming in through a major port.
Yep.
So it's like someone who's smuggling something wouldn't be that stupid, I would think.
Well, how about this? Henry and I both know a gentleman who legitimately imported Uromastyx from Egypt. And there was a couple of Uromastyx in there that were a particular locality that are different than, say, your normal Egyptian or whatever. And the U.S. Customs in New York opened the box and said, these aren't native to Egypt. These are from Chad or Libya or wherever they said they were from. They're contraband. And they're not. They really are from Egypt. It's just the customs person had it out for our friend, or the customs person doesn't know a Uromastyx from a fucking chameleon. Who knows? They're told what they're told. And that's why you got a lot of guys right now that are extremely hesitant to import anything that's not the norm, simply because they're afraid it's either going to get snatched up and given to someone on the payroll, or it's going to die in a warehouse because it's contraband. One of my old mentors, he imported a shipment from Egypt, and it was all different stuff. Lizards, snakes, toads, everything. All legitimate, all basically field collected. But there was no venomous. And the exporter fucked up and put 4 Egyptian cobras in there and labeled it, Egyptian cobra, Naja Hajj, blah, 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 4 of them, put the sex ratio on there. And when they got to Port of Miami said that Egyptian cobras are not on the manifest. So it's a $500 fine per animal, or you have to mail it back. So my friend was like, I can't spend, $2,500 Swiss Air again to mail it back, only to have them take those 4 snakes out and mail it back here. So he says, listen, if I just pay the, $1,500, $2,000 fine, whatever it was, can I just keep them? And they're like, no, we're still going to euthanize them. So he wound up saying, you know what? I can't afford this. I have to mail it back. He contacts the guy in Egypt. The guy in Egypt says, I don't worry about it. Mail it back. Whatever survives, we'll fix it. We'll do good on it. But then 6 months later, he's still got a subpoena in the mail because he never paid the fines. And all the animals,
it's the government.
None of them were protected. None of them were Lacey Act or any of that crap. This was 15, 20 years ago. It was all normal species that were completely legitimate. Had no field collection quotas per se. It's crazy.
You need to come and herp Egypt. Talking of Egypt.
Oh yes.
It's
I go to the Holy Land, man.
So close together, you can just drive from one to the other.
I know.
What's funny is there's a lot of parallels between custom agents and the PetSmart Petco employees.
Oh, very much so. Very much so.
Going to tell you what you should and shouldn't do, but they don't actually know anything about the animals. They're telling you this.
Absolutely.
100%. Sadly, that's the same on a lot of things. I'll be very careful. I have to be too careful what I say. There's a lot of people that have a good voice on maybe Instagram or other things that spout a lot of stuff, but don't actually keep very many things and have never bred anything.
100%.
And we all know who those people are.
Oh, I mean, that's sort of the problem that me and Jake were talking about it with the whole YouTube thing is like, got these people with 1 million plus followers or whatever, hundreds of thousands, and it's like they're spouting out either old information or completely wrong information. It's like it seems kind of irresponsible to me. But
I think if you are, I don't want to use the word celebrity. If you have a lot of followers, if you have an internet presence, I don't think you have a responsibility to pump out correct information.
Yeah,
because a lot of this generation's go-to way to find anything out is to go straight onto the internet and look on YouTube.
Yeah.
They won't pick up an academic paper. They won't read a book. They'll Google on YouTube or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So the information that is their information. That is the world that they're going to see. It's not always 100%. I know I sound like a proper old fucker at the minute, but
you're speaking the truth, in the same way that anyone who writes a piece of literature legitimately, and we're talking nonfiction, whether you're writing a book on how to, grow tomatoes in your backyard, or you're writing a book on the captive husbandry of Lysis muta, whatever, you're going to have resources. You're going to have to have done it. You know what I mean? No one is born with this information in their mind. They learned it somewhere. Now, whether you say, I learned this from my 10 years of tutelage underneath so-and-so, or you say I read it in, Gunther's paper of exotic Indo-Chinese fauna circa 1894. You still have those references. No one on YouTube has references.
Nippa.
Oh, you're right.
Happy birthday, Phil.
Oh, thank you very much, Katie.
Are you enjoying your day?
This is the best birthday ever.
What? I'm sorry.
This is the best birthday ever. Fantastic.
Low expectations.
But yeah, I see what you're saying about the YouTube thing is that you think if they're going to do an episode on a new snake, they
Nipper's got a boner now. Thank you.
All right.
It's too much action for him to handle.
So if they're going to do an episode on a new species they got, whatever it may be, corn snake, king cobra, whatever, you'd think they would do a little more homework than just the general malaise that they've accumulated from the time that they drove the animal home from the shop.
Get out of here.
What stresses me out is you just said the time they drove the animal home from the shop. How many times have you seen on a forum, I've got X snake, and somebody giving some tips on how to look after it? Why would you not research that before you decide to buy the snake? That's the frustration.
Of course. We talk about all the time with caging, and it says, hey, I got a waiting list for this one species from this one breeder, and I waited 4 months, and now I have the animal, and it's in a deli cup because that's how it got delivered to me. But you don't have a clue. So you bought the animal 6 months ago in eager anticipation of this species, but for 6 months you didn't set the enclosure up?
Exactly.
And I mean, we've all done spur of the moment stuff,
It's different going to a show and seeing something on a table you wasn't expecting to be there and buying it.
Right.
if you're experienced, you have enough equipment that you've accumulated over the years, probably laying around at your house, that you can temporarily house it safely. And by the time you set the tank up, it would have acclimatized, and that's grand.
We've all done it where we bought a snake or a lizard or something impromptu at a show. It was a spur of the moment thing, an impulse buy. You said, "Oh man, I've always wanted that. I can't believe it's here. You know what? I got to buy it. Strike when the iron's hot."
Bear's rats,
right? Exactly. And water pythons. And
man, I was so chuffed that you got water pythons.
Oh, we'll talk about it. But we've all taken it with us to the hardware store, and we bought the tub that it's going to live in for 24 hours until the next day when we have time to go do and set it up.
Oh, that's why you just stockpile tubs and stuff
like Nipper
for when you need it. Like all these 32 boards. I got 100 on the floor. I got a Terra orb I haven't even set up yet. Like
every helper has a shed full of boxes.
It drives Katie crazy. She's like, because I'll go and buy a new one. Like I need a 200 core for the Jansenite. She's like, you have like 50 in here. I'm like, you don't understand. I was like, you don't. Let me do my thing.
I had the same argument with my fiance yesterday. Cleared the shed out. I just bought a new freezer because I overordered rats. And she said, "Why do you need all these boxes?" You never know when you're going to need a box. It's good to have a stock.
Always.
I bet you've got lots of heaters, ceramic guards, lights, all sorts of bits just hanging around.
See, those I don't have. Yeah,
power cords, extension cords, timers.
Cords. Yeah,
timers. Can never have enough timers.
Surge protectors. Can't have enough of those. I'm trying to find the perfect surge protector because you know how I use those Inkbird thermostats.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, they're bulky, and if you have a power strip, you can only fit maybe 2 on those max, depending on like the style and orientation of the outlets and stuff. And like I'm constantly on the hunt for a nice power strip that I can fit like 4 of those things on. And I don't think it exists. I'm starting to wonder.
Well, I gotta send you a picture. Matt Jensen was cleaning out his shed, and he gave me a power strip it's an aluminum, like I guess it's meant to be track lighting on the ceiling, and basically you run the track on the ceiling, and then there's like 15 or 20 standard outlets, but each one is spaced about 3-4 inches apart, and it's almost like 5.5 feet tall. And because I'm a short fuck, and it's probably up to here on me, and that thing is awesome. I got to figure out where I'm gonna mount it, because you could have that on a surge protector and then run standard power strips off of each one.
Well, see, I do kind of worry about like that and overloading an outlet. Like,
yeah.
That's why I've got my snake building's on a separate circuit to the house. There's so much stuff plugged in there that's random.
Like if I showed you a picture of one of the outlets that I have, like it's got
just a rat's nest.
It's rough. I'm like, if there's a fire hazard in this house, it's this. It's like that's actually something that Brian Fry, he did a recent talk, like the beginning of the year, and he was talking about how the way electricity is set up here versus like the rest of the world. He's like, it's insane. He's like, you get shocked by an outlet here in the States or anything, like you're fucking done. But he's like, over in Europe, I guess it's not as brutal. Like it does the job still, but it's not nearly as like high amperage or whatever. They also got all those weird outlet shapes and stuff because they try to be fancy.
Right now, we got like converters and shit.
You got those horrible 2-pin plugs, haven't you?
There's 2 and then there's 3, and the 3s are like the ones you really want.
The 3s have the ground.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, your stuff, you drive on the wrong side of the road and your plugs are funny.
Yeah, well.
It's the right side of the road, the correct side, correct side.
Right side of the car, too. I dread the day if I ever have to drive anywhere else, like in Europe or Australia or something. It's going to be like I've never driven before, because it's going to be so awkward being on the other side of the road and on the other side of the car. Like,
You'll find in Europe, they all drive on the wrong side of the road as well in Europe.
Well, that's what I was going to say there's only a few countries in Europe that follow the British way. And imagine crossing the border and then having to switch sides of the street.
You could drive into Gibraltar from Spain, literally drive, and that switches sides of the road. You could drive, where else? Malta. You could drive onto the island of Malta. That switches sides.
Yeah, but now you have a ferry to Malta, right?
Yeah, you get the ferry from Sicily into Malta.
But at least you're on the ferry. It's not like the road just stops and then switches. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that doesn't happen.
Is there an actual bridge to Gibraltar from Spain?
No, Gibraltar's not an island. Gibraltar's a landmass.
Dude, that's where freaking Merlin pulled the rock out of the sword, or the sword out of the rock. Right?
Gibraltar?
Yeah.
No.
I apologize. Nipper, I apologize.
King Arthur, all that shit?
That's not Gibraltar.
We're talking about the straits in between Portugal and Morocco.
You're talking about Cornwall in England.
Who the hell's Cornwall?
Yeah, he's talking about Cornwall.
You know that lot of stuff?
I know Stonewall, like Stonewall Jackson. I don't know. How about this cornhole dude you're talking about?
That's because your country's only a couple of 100 years old.
We are a baby in the grand scheme of that's why like all the craziness that's going on here right now, I'm like, all these other countries have dealt with this kind of stuff before. It was like, I think kind of it's like we're due for some sort of revolution. It's gonna get real.
This is completely off topic, but speaking of Malta, Nipper, in any of your recent endeavors, do you know anyone who's dealt with the whole Maltese passport issue?
In terms of buying your citizenship and then gaining access to the EU? Oh, I mean, it's not just Malta. It's in a lot of countries. Why, are you trying to get an EU passport?
No. I was just saying I was reading up. I have some friends that were doing some work outside of Malta, and they were saying how Malta is all kinds of messed up right now because they were having so many immigrants come and give charitable donations to the Maltese government, in turn gaining Maltese citizenship and therefore having passport access to like 15 or 20 countries in Europe. So then they basically buy their passport and then boom, now they have full access to Europe.
Yeah, it could happen in a number of countries, unfortunately. If you've got a spare 250,000 in your bank account, you can try and become a resident of Monaco.
That's it? I imagine it'd be a lot more.
Yeah, you've always got to have 250,000 in your bank account. You can't go below 250,000. But Monaco, a tiny little country, it's only, I think it's 2.5 kilometers by 2.5 kilometers.
Yeah.
Y'all are making me feel real dumb. I was pretty sure that was like a city somewhere.
I mean, it basically is.
It is a tiny place, but it's got one of the highest incomes in Europe, and you don't pay tax if you live there. So obviously, the idea is to get a Monaco citizenship, register your business in Monaco, and then you don't pay any tax.
Yeah. I also heard the easiest way to get residency in Switzerland is actually to do Luxembourg and have sistership reciprocity.
I wouldn't know. I've been to Luxembourg. Not many species of herp there. I wouldn't recommend it.
Duly noted.
It's not worth the trip for herping. Switzerland, on the other hand, fantastic for vipers.
Excellent. Love it.
Lots of black Atra aspis, the red aspis. Mm-hmm. Really nice. Really well. There's a couple of places. There's Ticino, Chironico. Where's the other one? Asonia, and they have little populations where the ass vipers are really, really red.
Awesome.
Well worth the trip. We should do a massive Euro trip.
We should.
We should just get a minibus, come over for a couple of weeks, and we'll just drive from France into Switzerland, taking a little bit of Austria because you'll want to see every subspecies of horned viper. So we do the Austrian ones, the Italian ones, and we'll drive down into Montenegro, Croatia, Bosnia,
Yep.
Macedonia.
Like super sketch though.
Not anymore, man. It's not 1994, bro. You're good.
I don't want to be like Owen Wilson behind enemy lines, dude. I'm sorry.
Come on.
And we finish up in Greece. Then you can tick all the Euro Vipers. It'd be amazing.
That'd be pretty awesome.
I like olive oil.
Say again?
Said I like olive oil.
Well, there you go. We'll do length of Italy. I did a trip. I picked up a car, flew into Milan. I picked up a car in Milan, and I drove cross country and finished up at the tip of Greece. That took in a load of countries. How far up do Viper Sawani go? They're very localized. They are only in mid-Spain. Really, really hard Viper to find. But they come in some really, really mad colour forms. You've got the bilineata, you've got the concolor ones. You want to find a Milos Viper, not Minos. Milos Viper in the wild. Yeah. That's the trip I'm clinging to for maybe October, if the travel ban's lifted, is me and my partner going to Milos. It's an amazing island. It's got the Milos Viper, which is quite a large naughty viper, but they come in sort of coral pink colour, pretty much total bird feeders. So going towards the end of the year is quite good because you get the migrating birds, so they're out quite a lot. It's also got a load of an endemic wall lizard, an endemic green lizard, and a grass snake as well. So it's a great little island. I never play on.
The grass snake is Natrix.
It is a Natrix. It's not a full species yet, but I think it will be elevated to a full species because it's quite isolated and morphologically it looks really different.
So, but you do feel that it is a legitimate different species, and it's not just so that they can, protect it.
It's hard to say what Milos is, how far that is off the mainland. I would say it's probably a separate species. Definitely worthy of subspecies rank.
Is there any Vipera in like that whole Santorini archipelago area, or is it mostly just like Natrix and stuff like that?
Santorini, yeah, you'll get. I think you get the horned viper Amidites on Santorini. I think.
Interesting. Yeah, that's awesome, man. I had a friend that just went there. I asked him if he saw anything. He saw a couple wall lizards, and that was it. But I think he saw some Mediterranean house geckos too.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cyprus is a great place if you want big vipers. Cyprus is one of the easiest places to see big vipers, and that's cheap as chips to go to.
Yeah, I can imagine.
You get
How
the
much chips cost?
chips. See, when I say chips, I'm not. You're thinking of what we call chips is a completely different thing to what you call chips.
French fries.
Yeah, what you call French fries, we call chips.
Freedom fries.
Freedom fries.
Oh man. But yeah, we definitely have to do Israel.
Israel is without a shadow of the doubt in that part of the world. I'd rather herp Israel than Africa or most of the Middle East. It's such a unique country. For herping, it's herper's delight. It really is. I think off the top of my head, I think there's around 148 species of herp there. And you think how small the country is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's basically like a Walmart car park size. That's how big it is. You can literally drive from one end of Israel to the other, so tip to tip in about 3 hours.
That's awesome.
That's it.
It's like Rhode Island.
It is. It really is ridiculously small. I think it's
surrounded by people that hate them too.
Yeah, I think it's 51 miles wide. I mean, that is ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's tough because I've always been told like they want you to go to Birthright. Oh, go on Birthright or work in a kibbutz or whatever. And I'm like, no, I want to go on my own terms because if I want to take a car and I want to herp the Negev, And then I say, you know what? I feel like driving up to Petra. I want to just be able to do that. I don't want to have to get stuck on some tour bus. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like I've been dying to go, and I finally have a friend who's been there copious amounts of times and can.
Oh mate, I would go back in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
It's such easy quality herping. I mean, the species are phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, iconic. I mean, you've got the Du Bois, and until you've seen one, you just can't believe how big. I mean, their heads are, the heads are like that. They're massive.
Awesome.
Beautiful colours. You've got Waltranesia, the jet black cobras.
Yeah.
You've got you've got the asps, the Attract aspis.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible.
How many Waltranesia have you found?
Say again?
How many Waltranesia have you found?
I've only found one alive. You see them dead on the road. I'll rephrase that. I've only caught one. Okay. You see them, but they are hard to catch. They're rapid. Okay. You see them dead on the road, unfortunately.
Are they nocturnal at night when they get hit, or are they strictly a diurnal species?
No, at night, or sort of, I presume they're basking on the roads at dusk or something like that when they're getting hit. We found them at night when we were there.
Okay, but they had already been hit.
Yeah, the one we caught was at night as well. But such a rapid snake, and so powerful. One of the most powerful snakes I've physically held, I think, for its size.
Awesome.
But you've got sand boas there. You've got
like 4 or 5 different species of Cerastes too.
Yeah, you've got Gasparati, Cerastes, Cerastes vipera, Pseudo-Cerastes. Absolutely beautiful.
And then there's some Leviathan stuff too in the northern sections, like in the Golan and whatnot.
In the Golan Heights, you've got I really want to go back to Israel for, because I can't. There's an area in the Golan Heights where you have Vipera bumolari. Okay. And it's inside the occupied military zone. So you're not supposed to be there.
So when you go, we need to get a military escort.
Well, that would be ideal. But what you go literally up to the top of the mountain, the Golan Heights, which you can get up on a ski lift. And then there's a little area, and then there's a valley. And the troop lookout posts are about 2 kilometers away, watching this valley.
Right.
As soon as you crest the valley and go into it, the response time's about 10 minutes. So you literally into the valley, you're quickly flipping stuff before the soldiers turn up.
And this is Israeli or Lebanese?
These are Israeli soldiers.
Okay.
Although obviously you can't be there. They're reasonably friendly about it, but you can't be there. So it literally is a race to try and find one of these vipers before you have to leave.
So we need to get a military escort. That's what we need to do.
That'd be fabulous. That would be ideal.
I'll put the feelers out, sir.
Yeah, it's a beautiful viper. But you've got so many species. You've got some of the racers that you find there. Some of the even the lizards, like the Lacerta, I think it's Meridian analis, like metallic green, large lizards.
And they get big. They get like almost 3 foot with the tail.
Yeah. Beautiful stuff. You've got a nice monitor species that you find there.
Yeah, that's the Iranian one, right?
That's it.
You've got with a G, right?
I want to say Grisera.
Grecius?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. We couldn't catch one. We saw one and we chased it, which seemed a brilliant idea to start with. And then we realised that we're running across sand in the middle of the desert in about 40-degree heat. Yeah. So we didn't catch it in the end, but it was good to see. And even some of the amphibians are incredible.
Those green spotted toads, amazing.
Yeah, we've got that's which one is that? That is one of the buffo species you've got there.
And there's pseudo buffo too, right?
Say again.
There's a pseudo buffo as well, right?
Pseudo-buffo, yeah. There's also the newly rediscovered painted frog.
What is that?
It's a very primitive species of frog. It gets quite big, and it was considered extinct, and then it was rediscovered a couple of years ago.
Excellent.
Which I know, yeah, that'd be good to see. You've got some fabulous newt species, banded newts and things like that. It's just incredible the amount of. I mean, of course, you've got Euromastics, and some of the smaller snakes like the Irenis, the specific centipede eaters, and things like that.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
And then how far do the Montpelier snakes go eastward? Is that strictly like Mediterranean coast?
I know. You've got 2 species of Malpolon in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Western species, which is heavily green. Beautiful, beautiful snakes. I'm surprised you do not keep them.
I've been trying to find them, like the dark slate colored ones, the black ones, like the one you sent me, the blue one you sent me. What was that, from the south of France?
Yeah.
That species, my late mentor, he kept, and I've been dying to find them, and just no one imports them. No one has them. And then apparently there's also an earth tone, or like a beige colored one, I guess, that's from north of Tel Aviv. And then there's another guy who I've been following on Instagram. I can't remember his name for the life of me. I feel bad about it, but he's a Lebanese guy, and he does a bunch of reptile rehab stuff. And he has Montpeliers in, I guess it's 50, 60 miles north of the Lebanese border, like on the Mediterranean coast, and they are just this crazy. Like, I didn't realize you could have different hues of beige, like the faded colors on the sides, but it still has that cryptic. Awesome. And
the eastern ones, is it Insignatus? I think are the eastern ones.
I can never remember.
In Israel, they have a really nice red coloration to them. So the body's kind of beige, but the head is sort of rusty red color. Really beautiful.
I'm going to go on iNaturalist after this podcast.
Yeah. But definitely one of my. You find them all over Europe in most countries.
Mm-hmm.
And a big adult is like 5 feet with a big head, and although they're rear fanged, you really don't want to get a bite off one. But I shall send you loads of photographs when we're finished, because I've seen them in loads of countries in Europe. Beautiful snakes.
You know anybody that's actually been bit?
Yeah, I did a trip to Bulgaria, and my good friend Bobby Bock, who's a really famous field herper, he wrote or co-wrote the Euro guide to the current Euro guide to all the European species. On the Bulgarian trip, he took a really good bite off of one of the Malpolons, and yeah, not brilliant.
Did he have any localized swelling or joint pain? Or?
Swelling, numbness, that sort of thing.
Okay. Awesome.
But, yeah, beautiful, incredible snakes. And I don't know, have you seen them hunting when they rear up?
No. Mm-mm.
They're like little, I would say mini cobras, but they're cobra size. When they're going through, they're such a powerful snake. So they've got the hooded eyes.
Yeah.
They've got like
that big brow.
That's it. A built-up section over their eyes. Fantastic, aggressive snakes.
Yeah. The ones my late mentor had were probably about 4 or 5 foot. He had a pair, and he wound up selling them to someone, but they never once showed any sign of aggression ever. They would do you see it in like beak snakes, where they kind of look at you and they're like, why are you touching me? You know? But they never opened their mouth, never veered back, never bit out of randomness. And they were extremely non-aggressive eaters. And I would have the mouse on the tongs, the dead mouse, frozen thawed, and I put it there, and it was just polite, as Henry would call it. We call it polite eating. And they would just eat it, and that was it. But the defense display, is that like almost like a Pseudonaja, like a brown snake?
Yeah, they remind me of pine snakes or bull snakes in the way that when they're in the wild, if you found one and it's gone into a bush or something like that, you're trying to get it out. The noise and the tail flicking and the hissing reminds me of sort of like a bull snake type thing.
Very cool.
Beautiful snakes. When you get a minute, not now, look up Dahl's whip snake.
Let me make a note of that.
They are incredible, and you'll get those in the same sort of areas. What a beautiful snake.
You said Dahl's whip snake?
Yeah, it's DHALS.
Yeah.
like Ronald Dahl,
Like Ronald Dahl.
the BFG.
I'll check them out.
Yeah, they are incredible. But as I say, I cannot recommend Israel enough. And it's easy herping in terms of logistics because Israel is obviously a military nation. So the roads are all fabulous. You can get anywhere very, very quickly, even through the middle of the desert, because Israel's only around the outside of Israel. There's nothing in the middle. Everything is, let's keep everybody out from the outside. So the middle of Israel is just empty. But the roads are big enough to land planes on for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And pristine roads. Everywhere is so quick to get to. And when you're driving through the desert, at the side of the roads, there's a lot of communication tunnels all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah. The communication tunnels are about 2 meters deep, so about 6 foot deep.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of snakes fall into these little communication tunnels. So it's great to just drive down the road and then drop down into these holes and find what's been trapped. You find a lot of cobras in the bottom, which is interesting. If you're dropping down into a hole which is probably 4 feet by 4 feet, and you drop down and there's a cobra in the bottom, is always interesting. But you get a lot of red whip snakes down there and that sort of thing.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Have you ever gone to any like the touristy spots and like herped to the touristy spots?
No, I hate tourists. I'll tell a lie. I did go to one touristy spot because they had African soft-shell turtles there.
This is where Jesus was born.
This is indeed, yeah. I don't normally go into Jerusalem or anything like that. I literally grab a car from the airport and drive into the Negev.
Which, if they had read your article in Herpetoculture magazine, they would know.
A publication.
Yes, absolutely. But like I just watched, a friend of mine went to Masada and was like showing pictures of like, they have like all the lifts and the staircases that go around the outside of the I guess you call it a monolith or a plateau. And all I could think about was, I want to go underneath those staircases because I'm sure there's all these animals that are just used to people being there and don't care.
Mummies. Hello.
Oh, what's happening there?
No, hello.
Hello?
You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
You gonna take that?
Go away. Not interested.
So aside from this group's trip to Israel, where's your next trip?
Well, as I say, if I can get in at the end of the year, depends on travel bans, Milos.
Right.
I had so many trips this year that were booked, which sadly got
Hey, you were going to come here. You're going to come.
I was flying to Philadelphia. I was going to have a couple of days herping in Philadelphia, hoping to see cottonmouths, timber rattlesnakes. And then we were heading off to Arizona to try and hit as many species of rattlesnake as we could, visiting the Grand Canyon. I'll do it next year. My plans for next year, regarding the States, is to do the same trip, but I also want to come over for Carpet Fest as well and try and get some herping in for that.
Cool. Who is going to take you out west?
Eric in Philadelphia,
Right.
Eric Burke. And then we were going to Arizona. It was myself, Eric, Owen, and Rob Stone.
Oh, cool. Excellent. And Rob is out there in Grand Canyon area?
He's in Colorado.
Oh, he's in Colorado.
Yeah.
Okay.
Rob is just the daddy. When it comes to trip planning,
Yeah.
he's
He's the man, period. Like, I cannot say enough good things about that guy, man. He's
I talked to him. He's just a legend. He knows everybody. He's kept everything.
Me and Eric were actually talking about him earlier this morning because me and Eric were talking about podcast stuff and whatnot, and like just the amount of stuff he's kept and done. Because I mean, he's like mid-30s.
Yeah.
To do all the stuff he's done,
Oh, yeah.
in his 36, 35, whatever. It's like, Jesus.
Yeah, and it's just incredible. And such knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
It's not issue he's kept stuff, he researches it. And I mean, we laugh quite a lot in so much as the trip planning stuff is exactly the same as me. People, say, oh, let's go herping. And they think you just get in the car and you just drive and you get out of the car and there's herps there.
Yeah.
But there's so much planning and logistics into you don't want to waste your time, so you need to get to exact spots.
Yeah.
You've got to have accommodation. You've got to know where you're going to get fuel and all sorts of stuff, which a lot of people just join the trip, get in the car and don't think about anything like that. There's months of planning that goes into a decent trip to make the trip as enjoyable as possible. And he's just a master at that. So, yeah, definitely looking forward to coming to the States. And I keep saying it to all you Americans. Everyone banging on about Australia, how wonderful Australia is in Australia. Yeah, Australia's got some nice species. I think America shits all over it when it comes to quality species.
Yeah, there's a little bit more diversity. Like over there, you think about it, it's really like a lot of the lapids.
Basically, it's a lot of angry snakes that are going to kill you and geckos. Oh, and some monitor lizards. But honestly, I think that I don't think it's a cultural difference, or it's just the fact that there's probably not as many species in Europe as there are in America. But when I talk to American herpers, and I go, oh yeah, it's really, I'd love to see this species, but they go, whoa, what's that? Americans should research their species. You've got some amazing stuff.
We take it for granted, man.
We do. But at the same time, can't you say the same thing about Europeans in the sense of the same way that we look at Montpelier and Natrix and Vipera, and we go, wow, look at this. And I mean, even still, the three of us are very niche in that desire of those type of animals.
Well done for saying niche correctly. That's beautiful. That's made my day. That's perfect. Well done, you.
So that being, no hookers died on this show.
That's great.
So, that being said, is that the same way that we find them alluring and we find Australian stuff alluring is the same way that the Europeans, they're sick of looking at Vipera burus. They're sick of it, and they think that, oh my God, rattlesnake, it's amazing, and rattlesnakes are amazing and we still have a passion for it. But imagine seeing, pygmy rattlesnake every single day in your yard. You're going to get bored with it. You're going to get sick of it. You're not going to appreciate it.
Well, I try to keep that in mind now. In the last few years, this has kind of been the case, but like something even as simple as like copperheads or corn snakes, like there's someone somewhere in the world that would absolutely kill to see a wild corn snake, and we have them here. It's like, so I do try to kind of look at native species almost as if they're like exotic and like have a better appreciation for them in a sense where it's like there are people that would love to see a rough green snake. Something as simple as a rough green, which are like little snakes, but there's someone who would love
snakes. I think they're amazing.
Yeah.
They're awesome.
Yeah.
I was on this planet for 26 years before I knew what a lyre snake was.
Well,
somebody brought one into the local shop and they're like, oh, my cousin caught this in West Texas. I don't even know what it is. He just mailed it to me. And I was like, what is this thing? This thing is amazing. Look at the pattern in the head.
It's American boiga.
Exactly. Well put, sir. Well put.
Yeah.
And nobody.
I'd never see them. If I saw those at a show, I'd snap them up. I think they're fantastic.
Yeah.
But when you think, some of the incredible, Australia's snakes, by and large, yeah, they're very cool because they're very dangerous, but they're not particularly colourful. They're not particularly attractive looking snakes. Most of them are brown. Not all of them. You've got the night tigers and you've got the pythons and stuff, but most of them are brown. You look at the stuff you've got. You've got Zanata and, you've got your milk snakes. It's just incredible stuff. Your corn snakes. Mm-hmm. Corn snakes looks like a child's drawing of a snake. It's so colourful. They're just brilliant.
Those fox snakes from the north.
You've got your racers.
Yeah.
You've got your bull snakes, pine snakes. And then you've got your weird stuff, which is really cool, like, your shield nose snakes, your ring snake, stuff like that. I mean, I'm reading.
I found a ringneck.
What's
You've
that?
never seen one?
I've never seen a ringneck. I've never found a ringneck.
Oh, really?
Local to you, or?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they're not uncommon. Like I have people send me pictures of them all the time, but I've never found one. It's very strange.
Yeah.
I do think I get what you're saying. You take for granted what you see every day, but America is so big. There's going to be loads of species in America that you're not going to encounter very often.
Right.
You know, I mean, you've got 38 species of rattlesnake.
Yep.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be even considering going to Australia until you've seen and photographed all 38, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I mean, I like for Eric and them as like big Moralia guys, I can understand the want to go to Australia because that's what I would want to see if I went to Australia too. You know, big kinghorn eye. I'd want to see all the carpets and stuff, and wild diamonds like Casey saw, like stuff like that. Like that would be the biggest thing I'd want to be looking for if I was in Australia. It wouldn't necessarily be, I mean, the night tigers being the exception, but you know, like the brown snakes and stuff. Yeah, those are cool, but it's like I want to see carpets. You know, I want to see big scrubs.
But I mean, there is so many species that I'm desperate to see in America. It's ridiculous. I just waded my way through that fabulous book, The Snakes of America. Today, I bought The Snakes of Texas, which is another fantastic book. Oh man, I cannot wait to get over there.
You need to find a coral snake, dude. That's another one. Like,
yeah,
you see it in person, and it's like, holy shit! Like, pictures, you could look at all the pictures you want, but until you see one sitting on the ground in front of you, it's like,
yeah.
How about this? How about I've never personally found a coral snake? I've gotten countless phone calls. Hey man, I got a coral snake. Come over to the house and get it. You know, he put it in a bucket or covered it with a trash can so it stayed on the side of the pool or whatever. And I've never found one myself. One day.
You need to get out more.
I know. It's
I mean, you got healers.
Yeah.
Just so much cool stuff.
And the funny part is, I've got a Gila upstairs. I don't play with it.
No.
Yeah. I look at her. I feed her. That's it.
I miss my healers. I wish I hadn't sold them now. But you can't keep everything like that.
The goal is we actually had Henry's a bulldog breeder, blue ribbon champion stuff, English bulldog, excuse me. And he has a vet who was cool, and my friend and I both brought our Gilas to the vet, and we sonogrammed them, and we wound up having a pair. So it's been about 2.5, 3 years now. So the goal is to get some kind of chest freezer or wine cooler or something for this coming season, and we're going to chill both of them out and try our luck at it. So,
brilliant.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you. Talking of Australia, did you see the pictures that Stock posted today? You know, if you caught up with him yet on these nature. Just incredible pictures. He was cleaning out some of his tiger snakes, and he's taken some pictures of the variation from the different populations.
That copper-colored one?
Copper-colored one was just ridiculous. Just, I messaged him and said, you must have photoshopped that. That was just, the snakes that color is superb.
Well, that's another species that I'm kind of shocked was never exported legitimately when they could, because the whole Knobtails group is so dynamic, and there's so many different variations and phenotypes that and they have all morphs now, which I'm not a morph guy, but like some of the like exanthic stuff and it's amazing. And nobody has them.
No, to be fair though, there's not in the hobby in general. There's not a massive amount of Australian lapids in the hobby.
Yeah,
I mean the death adders, they're very popular. Collets, they're very popular. You don't see not many people have taipans.
Yeah.
You know, you don't see many of the Australian stuff for sale.
Yeah, there's that whole section of Western Dugites that have amazing banded. It almost looks like a banded Anelifera cobra, but it's brown and black and slate, and all the banding fades together. They're absolutely gorgeous, but it's Western Australia, and you'll never see one in the pet trade.
Exactly.
Yeah, there you go.
Pretty much any time you find a coral snake, it isn't on purpose. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah, And like I wait for the rains, man. I wait for the rains. I watch the weather, and I say, you know what? Tonight's going to be the night. And I go out and I drive and I look and I drive and I look and I come up empty-handed. And then my friend Preston texts me and says, "Hey man, I got 4 tonight."
Always the way.
Right.
Always. Oh man, you're killing me. I cannot wait to hurt the US though. So much to see.
You'll have
Well,
one.
you're gonna come hang out with us, right?
Say again?
So you're gonna come hang out with us, right?
You know it. I'm going to come and teach you how to make tea.
We'll make sure.
Yeah.
I'll make sure.
100%. 100%.
Drinking a big old Americano right now. It's really good.
Yeah. Good old cane sugar up in there.
A little bit. I don't like my coffee super sweet, so.
Man, I'm still going on this Oscuro, man. It's right. It's great.
They are very good. My chair ain't moving. So how many Atheris do you have right now?
I don't have so many at the moment. What have I got? I've only got 2 species at the moment. Not good enough, is it?
No, it's not.
I've got squams and I've got broadly eye. I've just been offered by a chum of mine who's trying to thin his collection down, niche eye, which I'm tempted.
Phil also made that mistake. I'm so disappointed. I need to live vicariously through you, and so for you guys to have like my dream venomous, I need you guys to own it and send me pictures as if they were.
They are cool. They are cool.
It's the most badass looking snake of all time, dude.
It's like a carrot.
No. Name
okay.
something else that looks cooler than a freaking Nishi eye.
Desai.
Close,
Yeah.
but I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Desai is way prettier.
Are we talking just Atheris or snakes in general?
I was speaking just after this.
It's okay. It's just a green snake with black spots.
You're right. There's a lot of green snakes with black spots.
Parviocular.
They're all right. It's just a green gaboon.
Yeah, they're cool snakes. I'm very tempted. I actually prefer Chlorechis.
Really?
Those are okay too.
Yeah, have you seen the don't you like using the term the high blue, the blue phase Chlorechis?
That's like a southeast DRC.
Yeah, they almost look chondropythony. They've got that sort of blue dots, blue hue to them.
Mm.
If I see those at Snake Day, I'm tempted.
Now, I'll tell you what I really would love to get is Superciliaris. Never seen one in person. I think
the only way you're going to get those is by going through loads of wild caught stuff at import and just doing scale counts, because I'm sure loads come in wild caught, but unless you're going to sit at a table with 30 or 40 boxes and go through them, no one's bringing them in specifically.
Okay.
But they may turn up. It's like the Langerhaar, the other species of Langerhaar, the Eludiite and stuff like that. They do turn up, but they just come up in the big wild caught shipments of all the other stuff.
That's kind of what my friend Marcus and I were doing with a lot of the Cordillas. At one point, we had like 12 or 13 different species. Like 12 or 13 different species of Cordillas. And what I would do is I would go to the importer, and they would have 500 Tropidosternum. And then in that 500 Tropidosternum, they're all dirty. They're all covered in mud and dust and stuff from the African bush. And I'd look for the yellow stripe on the face, and I'd be like, and I pick that up and wet my finger and rub its back and see it, and yep, Baraducci. I was like, all right, I'll take these 5.
Yeah. Yes.
Talk about another niche group of lizards.
Very popular in Europe, though. Very popular in the UK. Quite a following for them.
Do the same guys do Platysaurus or no?
No, we don't see so many of those, to be fair.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know why. I mean, the prices must be around the same on import and that sort of thing. But
they were always under $100 for whatever it was. Yeah, that's actually how I met my 2 friends, Matt and Jamie, the ones I always go to Daytona with. Marcus and I were looking for Platysaurus, and Matt posted on Facebook, some group when you used to still be able to sell animals on Facebook, and he put up a Platysaurus intermedius for sale. Big male with the green tail and the bright red body and just this fire-looking lizard. And he's like $150, and I realized he was an hour north of me, and I messaged him and said, I'm really interested in this Platysaurus. I'm an hour south of you. Would you take $100 and I'll drive up and get him? And he was like, yeah, sure. And I went up staying in his house for 2 hours, and we became best of friends, and now I've been friends with them forever. But all because of those stupid flat lizards.
Yeah, no, I need more Arthurus. I have room for them at the minute. Trouble is, there's been no shows, so as soon as we get to Snake Day, I've got no pre-orders. I shall just wander around, see what's what. Man,
it's crazy to see. Like, I remember when you could get Ceratophora no problem. Like, they were for sale on a regular basis.
Right.
Now they went from being probably the second most common, next to Chlorechus, I guess, like second most common species you'd see for sale, and then it just like overnight.
I had a really nice collection of those, a big group of those. I bred them, and it's one of those things you think, all right, I need space, so I sold them all, thinking if I want them again, as you say, they're cheap, I'll just get another load in. And overnight, Tanzania's just said we're not exporting anything. And now I think the going rate in Europe is about 2,500 for one.
Whoa! What?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's a $50 snake.
Yeah,
inflation.
Not anymore. My friend Jurgen has just had a result. He's just bred Williardi. Got some lovely little babies of those, which it's a species I'm desperate to get hold of, but they're so expensive in Europe. Ridiculous.
I remember we used to get Hispida in, and
they never do well though, do they? They tend to.
That's what I said. Phil said no.
I kept one alive for 6-7 months, and I was feeding it live American green tree frogs.
Okay.
And I tried at that point the snails in the can, from Zoomed or whomever, they have those prepackaged snails in the can that had just come out. And people were just starting to use that with their caiman lizards. And I tried those, and the Hispida wanted nothing to do with it. And I would literally have a green tree frog alive, and I would grab it by the hind legs with a hemostat, and I would just hold it there. And the frog, you know how they get stiff and they just kind of sit there with their legs out? And the Hispida just grab them. And I had it for 6-7 months maybe, and then I wound up selling them because I was bored with them. I was like, I'll get another one in the future.
Are hirsutas still a thing?
It's still a thing, but
what is that?
Hirsuta.
Which one's that?
It's a hairy bush viper species, but again, it's one of these ones that you'll never see. I've never seen them in the hobby at all. I don't think there's many records for them, to be honest.
Well, that's why I was wondering, like, are they even? Did they ever get?
I think it's got a current species. I think it's got a current species. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. But I'm trying desperately not to get too many more snakes. I shall just be buying Pituophis and rattlesnakes, I think. What I really need for a while.
How's my Carolinas? Is she getting gravid?
Yeah, I think at least one of the females is gravid, possibly two. I need to track down, because it's hard for us. They're not common like they are for you. I need Miliaris miliaris. So if I see those at a show, I'll snap that up, and then I've got all of them.
Yeah, recently I had a friend on Instagram reach out to me because his friend was actually breeding Miliaris miliaris for years, and he had a power problem, an electrical problem in his snake room, and the whole room overheated, and he lost like 50, 60 animals. And I want to say he's in Louisiana, and he lost probably like 6 or 7 pairs, and he was looking for them. So sad.
Yeah, it's really hard, and it's hard to get, for want of a better word, pure specimens. People, it's a bit like chondros and that. People just I've got a contract. I've got another contract. I'm going to put it together.
Yeah.
They're not keeping. So you might get a Barbary bred familiaris, and then the babies are sort of. Oh, it could be this. Could be that. Yeah. So
You know about chondros, Nipper.
more than I want to know about those vile green tree slugs that do no good whatsoever. It's just a. I don't know what it's a starter snake, isn't it? Really, it's just sort of like playing. This is. I'd rather keep corn snakes, to be honest.
Bitch.
Well, that's. I was talking to Dom and Cox last night about that, and Dom was saying how like she thinks Venomous is incredibly amazing, but she never has any aspirations of ever owning anything, regardless of level of toxicity. And I said, well, that's the same way that I feel about chondros. Like, I think they're beautiful. I think they're gorgeous. They're amazing creatures, but I have no aspirations of ever owning one.
I'm exactly the
Y'all
same.
are missing out. More for me.
I think they're amazing things, but I can't become that geeky, to be honest.
What does that mean?
The minute you own one, you're going to have to start listening to the Pixies or something, and then just writing poetry and self-harming before you know it.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because when I did the little promo for our show on Instagram, I was looking for music. I don't know if you saw it, but I did like the thing with saying, we're having the one and only Nipper Reed, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, man, what music should I put? I was like, you know what? I'm going to put the Sex Pistols.
Oh, genius.
Put the Sex Pistols. Like, but I don't know if Nipper is going to be a little offended by that, like the Queen is dead or whatever, but.
Wow, I'm loving that.
Okay. And then I want to. And then I want Robert Smith is God. And then I wound up using the Clash because it's cliche.
Oh, beautiful. What is the bedding track that you play? You play a really nice bedding track before.
On like the audio versions.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I just found that on one of the like royalty-free sites or something.
You're talking about the Herpetoculture podcast, that intro.
Oh, yeah. Really nice track. Like that.
Yeah. It's funny, man. When I went on with Eric and Owen, I was waiting for Tool to come on.
I'm not brave enough to steal like copyrighted music.
Yeah. but dude, when I was
like here's the fear. Like I'm afraid, not that I'm sure it'd actually be very difficult for someone to actually like find that and then be like just basically lose all the tracks because it's got that on there. Like I'm afraid that the whole thing will just get deleted because of copyright.
Yeah.
But, dude, I was waiting for Tool to come on, and I realized I'm not going to hear Tool.
NPR is a fantastic show. I really do think it's opened up so much for everybody. My only criticism of it is the music on there is absolute toilet. It's all horrible American guitar-y.
God.
No.
Just cut the feed, Justin. Just cut it.
One of your fellow Brits is actually in that band.
It doesn't matter. It's just noisy, shouty shit, all of it.
Tool?
Yeah.
Get out of here.
No.
God, I thought I was disappointed before when you basically talk shit about the Pixies, which I do like.
I like the Pixies.
I'm staying out of this one.
I'm hurt.
You've got nowhere to talk anyway, Phil. That soundtrack that you put on when you put your...
I do remember that. That was pretty good. Cox, you say like North American or North African?
That's right, yeah. North American Vipers, if you're talking... What are we talking? If you're talking Crotalus or...
Histrodon.
Yeah, both of those really popular in Europe. Really popular.
That's a good question. That's a very good question.
Yeah, Henry asked, will Great Britain or Europe issue CITES 2 permits? Question mark.
Yeah, I think if you're exporting from the UK to America.
Yeah.
Yeah,
what I mean.
you can get. I've done it when I've sent snakes over before. You can get. So I think it's.
That's what he'll do when he sends me a bunch of boiga.
I can send you whatever you want.
Is Boiga size too?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
No.
What's up with that Trigonata? You only got one?
Yeah.
I'll be right back, boys.
Never going to get another one of those.
Why?
It's a species. You just don't see them. The only reason I got mine is it came over in the back of a truck in fruit from India. So I'm going to end up giving it to Chris for his collection.
Things looks like it's like a freaking saw scale, dude.
You can see exactly the Batesian mimicry in it is just fantastic. That's exactly what it's supposed to look like, and it does. It's incredible.
I need more.
You do. You need Cynodon. You need Selenensis, Trapezii, Jasperea.
One day, I'm gonna get it all. I'm gonna make it all happen. I'm getting to a point now where I really need to. Not that I wasn't decisive on what's staying and what's going, but really decide on what I really want to keep and what I really want to devote more space to.
Yeah, that's an endless problem, I think, for people like us.
If I want to get more into Boiga, that's going to be kind of hard to do because I do want to give them more space than I would give, sort of the average.
That is the thing. I mean, it's not, as you said before, it's not a tub snake. For adult Boiga, you're looking at ideally 4 foot high vivs.
Yeah.
They need some space, which, when you consider a lot of people in a 4 foot by 3 foot by 2 foot, how many snakes are they going to get in trays in that same space?
Mm-hmm.
But
I mean, I think like the smaller one, when they were smaller, that was fine, but they grow so damn quick.
They do, and they are active snakes. It's not like your chondro that's going to sit on a twig.
Right.
I mean, they're always out and about, cruising the viv looking for food.
See, and I don't know if that's like if the whole sort of Vivaria versus tub, enrichment thing is as big of a as hot of a topic there as it is here, but like there's just this weird sort of trend right now where like blanket statements on how we should be taking care of snakes is getting thrown around a lot, where they're like, everything should be in a big enclosure and have enrichment and naturalistic, not necessarily Vivaria, but a naturalistic setup. And it's like, if you've ever kept chondros, personally, I mean, yeah, you can keep them like that. I don't think they do that well. I find they do very well in simple setups. And, Boiga, though, on the other hand, are like the complete opposite. Like, yeah, those I would give probably a bigger than necessary, like bigger than the minimum enclosure. And,
I think you're absolutely right. I think it depends on the species. I was having this conversation, I think, with Eric. Pituophis, I've kept in very large vivs because they're a big snake, and I've kept them in tubs.
Mm-hmm.
And in my humble experience, they do better in tubs.
Like blood pythons. Like a blood python isn't going to do well in a very large enclosure where it's like exposed, unless you got a bunch of cover and stuff in there.
Exactly. Yeah. I find, but with the Boiga, they like to climb, they're active, and they move a lot. And I think it would be detrimental to keep them in too smaller.
Mine are out every night.
Exactly.
My female comes out and bats because I've got one of those purchased from Brahms that sits right under the heat panel, and every night like clockwork, lights are out. Yep. She's curled up right under it.
Fantastic.
She's not cruising. Like those. I guess that's kind of the nice thing about the Python portals and stuff from David, is that it's like the best of both worlds. Like you can give them more space, but you're also not having to spend $400 plus on a giant PVC setup. You can do that when they outgrow that 200 quart tub, which ends up being like 50 gallons, I think, at least. What's up?
Can I have a popsicle?
Sure. The important things, but yeah, I mean, I will when these guys outgrow those 200 quarts, and same with the Jansenii. I do plan on hitting up Sean and getting big. The only issue with that is like I'm already trying to plan ahead for what space I'd need those in. And my thoughts too were getting something like one bigger PVC setup, but having it split in half.
All right.
And then like just have them necessarily like taller, not necessarily longer for the Boiga, so that it's almost like a longer enclosure, but it'd be flipped on end. So I'm saving some space, but at the same time, I'm giving them what I think they should have.
Yeah, I think the difference is as well, in Europe, we don't use PVC very much for caging. It's not as popular as it is in the States.
What do y'all usually use?
We're
Like,
using wooden melamine caging more than anything else.
So you say melamine over here, and it's like,
Yeah.
Okay. That's
it's
what
heavy.
it is heavy. Yeah, that's what most people use.
It's actually illegal. It's illegal in Florida for venomous because once it gets wet and it deteriorates, now it's longer.
Yeah. So it's like a sponge.
I think we might be talking about something else, and maybe I'm incorrect in saying melamine.
It's melamine.
Aluminum. I'll send you a picture of my snake building, and you can tell me what it's made out of. But yeah, we don't use PVC very much at all.
Do you know why that is?
I just don't. It's one of the. I just think it's a cultural thing. I just think most people are used to live this way, and
because it works really well. Like it holds humidity great, holds heat well. Like
100%. To be fair, Exoterra is dominating at the moment for the smaller stuff. I use for a lot of my Boiga, all my Arthurus, my Madagascan cat snakes, all my Felsumas, all of that, all in large Exoterras. I think they're fantastic. Cannot fault them.
Now, now being so close to Hagen and all that, isn't there's more Hagen products that we don't even have because they don't bring it across the pond.
Who's Hagen?
Hagen's the company that owns Exoterra.
Okay.
Yeah.
right?
What's that?
Aren't they like Dutch based?
Yeah, I don't know if it's Dutch or Swedish, maybe. I don't remember.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The two companies I use most are Exoterra and Arcadia.
Mm-hmm.
The Exoterra is just absolutely fantastic. The light units, the different quality, the different types of bulb, different quality of lighting you can get are fantastic. Arcadia, their Pro UV kits, I think, are awesome. I use a lot of their Arcadia supplements and gecko foods and things
a
like
lot of their stuff is getting really popular over here too. I've noticed a lot of like Reptile Basics now carries it, which is one of the big supply companies here. And
I didn't know you did Felsuma.
Yeah, I love a Felsuma. As I say, while you was nipping out having a poo or whatever you was doing, I was talking to Justin, and he was saying how you change. You start getting into one thing, and then your collection changes and goes on to something else.
Right.
When I moved here, I was really into Trimeresurus, and boas, some like rare boas and stuff like that. So my snake building is kind of, when I built it from scratch, was built along those lines.
Arboreal based.
Yeah, arboreal based, but big arboreal based, all the same sort of temperature ranges and that sort of thing. And then I realized, a lot of the stuff I don't see because it only comes out at night. And if I'm off duty or whatever, I can go in at night, but sometimes I don't get to see it. And they don't move a lot. I mean, I might as well just get chondros just sitting there on a twig, So I really want to do my snake building again from scratch. And I'm really getting out the boa species now and going in a completely different direction. It's going to cost me a fortune because I think it cost me in total about $5,000 to do my snake building.
It's not bad though.
It's not bad.
Well, I already had the building, so the building didn't cost me anything.
Okay.
So with insulation, operating electrics, and the caging was about £5,000.
It's pretty heavy.
And now I just want to strip it out and start again and concentrate more so that I can do montane vipers. So to be able to do massive temperature drops at night.
Yeah.
And I was chatting to Rob Stone about it. We are the same sort of mind. If you walk into your snake room and you look in a Viv and it doesn't still excite you, there's no point having that animal unless you're doing it for a financial reason.
Sure.
And I know, I mean, I've got species that I walk in. I've got Sanzinia.
Yeah.
They're
Well,
okay.
those things are like super hot right now here, dude.
Really?
Everyone wants
They've always been hot.
You used to be able to find them on a regular basis, and now they're really hard to come by. They're stupid expensive. That was another species that like sort of fell through the cracks in the whole popularity wave of major stuff. And it's like so many other species, people slept on them, and now that they can't have them, everybody wants them.
Well, to be honest, I don't know. It's pretty crap. I like them. I'm keeping them just because if I breed them, I know it's a lot of money.
Right.
They don't excite me. I walk in and I see I've got 3 Vivs next to one another, heavily planted with Langarhar in it. Every time I walk in the snake room, I just stop and I'm just looking at them, and it makes
That's
me
trying to find them. It's not because you can see them. You're literally looking to see if they're in there.
There's a point. I mean, they are cryptic. They're fantastic. But that is a species that I've wanted to see in the wild, and I've wanted to own since I was a small child. And now I've got them, and I'm really that is the species out of everything I've got. That is the species I'm most excited about trying to breed.
People had them in 1912.
Say again.
So people were keeping them in 1912. They come over on the boat with all the tea. Look,
you might think I'm double tough, but as soon as this podcast finishes, I will be sobbing into my pillow with things like that. But there's no financial gain for breeding Langarhar because they come in wild caught for £100 or whatever. But they
we don't even see any of them. I can't tell you.
Some of the shows.
I haven't seen them in forever.
Yeah, and it's like the pygmy rattlesnakes.
Yeah.
When I look at their Vivs, it's just, and I know it's a really common species for you.
No, they're cool because there's a little rattlesnake, dude. How cool is it? It's a little micro rattler.
And that really brings me joy. But some of the other stuff, some of the bigger boas, which I've sold quite a lot. I mean, I've got scrubs. Oh, scrubs, so boring. I mean, I'll be selling my scrubs.
Just put them in the box with the boiga that you're sending me, and we'll call it.
Okay. They're just, they're good, they're big, but...
Which ones do you have? Are they Barneck?
Aru Island scrubs.
Which ones?
Aru Island. They're from Aru Island.
Okay, I got you.
The Apodora, my biggest snakes, I could just watch them for hours. I will never not have Apodora. I know that. They're just... They are, to me, for a bigger snake, they are a pinnacle species. People go on about scrubs. Apodora, everyone should have some. They are another level. And, I don't know what the availability is like in the States, but they are so rare.
Not super common here either. And usually when you do see some, they're imported, they're expensive. So
yeah, but get them while you can. They are incredible. But for me, it's my little arboreal stuff that makes me happy at the moment. It's my Arthurus and my Boiga. That's where and the pit.
It's a giant broad-headed skink crawling across the garage right now.
So cool.
It's cool.
That is so cool.
It's like one of the biggest ones I've ever seen.
Go catch it.
See, I'll be out there.
Too fat and too slow.
I'll be out there.
Yeah.
That's mad.
And they bite hard. It hurts.
That is mad. All I've got is my bull terrier laying next to me farting at the moment.
Nice. No, but I mean, I understand the Sanzinia thing. Like, they're cool, but it's if I have that much money to drop on something, it ain't going to be those. That's for sure.
No. I mean, I've got rainbow boas. Again, that's a financial thing. It's not that I think they're particularly wonderful or exciting. They're okay, but,
Have you ever found that you kept a species because you really liked it, and as time went on, whether it be a year or multiple years or decades or whatever, you realized you were like, why do I have these things? You're like, I'm just going to get rid of them. And the more you think about getting rid of them, the more you remember your fondness for them, and you wind up keeping them.
Yeah, my Maclots.
There you
They
go.
are psychotic. They're a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
They clean the water bowl out. They shit within 30 seconds. They are constantly trying to bite you. And I said, I've had enough of you. And then I go to think, shall I sell them? And I just said, no, I can't. They're just so cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And water pythons, you've just got a water python, haven't you? Mate.
Fuscus.
Super underrated species.
Exactly.
Super underrated species.
I'm in love with him. I'm trying to get him a girlfriend. He's amazing.
I've got a trio. It's a lovely python. It doesn't get particularly big.
Right.
Super underrated.
How big are yours? About 6 foot?
Oh, no, they're not fully grown yet. I'd say females probably 5 feet at the moment. Males probably both females are around 5. Males probably about 4.5 feet at the minute.
All right. And are they Australian locality or are they
Fog Dam? Fog Dam, yeah.
Cool.
Because I'm convinced, having chatted with Rob and other people, the PNG ones are different species, 100%.
Yeah,
100%.
That's what I'm gathering. That's what I'm gathering from all the recent research I've been doing. Is that they're a completely different animal. Yeah,
I think the head shape's different. I think the coloration's different. Even the adult size, I think, is slightly different. So I'd like to get those as well, but we don't see them. I don't know what the availability is like there, but we do have. They're not common. As I say, there's probably not that many people keeping them in the UK, but I think they're great species.
So let me pick your brain a little bit. So how do you have them set up?
Currently, and forgive me because you do sizes slightly different to us. I keep them in tubs. And I'll give you the tubs are probably 4 foot by 2 foot by 2 foot.
Okay.
The reason I kept them in tubs, I've kept them in ribs before, but I found it hard to keep humidity up enough for them. They just seem to do better, and they will strike the glass quite a lot. They never seem to settle, even though there was lots of hides in the vivs. They never seem to settle. You put them in a tub, and they're good as gold.
So now, are they defensive when handling, or is it just when you're walking by the viv?
When they was in the vivs, they were defensive. If they saw movement past the vivs, they'd bang their noses into the glass to the point where I'm having to put newspaper up over it, which it looks ugly. I don't want that.
Yeah, it's horrible.
It's horrible. As far as handling goes, because I keep venomous, I tend to hook everything anyway, just so that I don't walk in there and forget what I'm doing. It's just natural for me to hook.
Right.
So, as you know, it will be all too easy to come home after a late shift or whatever and think, oh, what am I doing? And just reach in and take something. Oh, no, that's the wrong viv.
I just did that recently. I moved everything around so that all the venomous is on the left and all the non-venomous is on the right.
Yeah, I've got a similar setup. All my venomous is in one area, but I still tend to hook. And I think things like the water pythons and the maclots, if I was training anyone to get into venomous, those are the snakes that I would use personally, because I think they're really hard to hook.
Yeah.
And they're really aggressive.
And they're quick. They're quick in movement.
Exactly, yeah. So I tend to hook them out rather than reach in and pick them out, as I do for my stuff.
What about a water basin? I mean, do you give them in the tub? Do you have
in the tub? They've got they're like gardening trays, so they're about 18 inches long by about 10 inches wide by about 5 inches deep.
Like a large paint roller tray.
Yeah, that sort of thing, but quite heavy, so they can't tip it over because they love tipping stuff over. So they've all got one of those, and they do soak quite a lot in there.
Okay.
And I keep them on. I'm not sure what you call it. it's not aspen bedding. It's like an orchid bark, like a fine orchid bark.
Okay.
And like a mulch type thing, with a couple of hides.
You keep them like smaller hides because they want to feel the sides.
Yeah, really, for the size of the snake, you would look in there and go, those hides aren't good enough.
Yeah.
But they love to be, as you say, they love to be really tight inside.
Mm-hmm.
As far as feeding goes, I feed them a lot of bird stuff.
Okay.
Because if you look at their diet in the wild, where they're from, like fog dam locality and stuff like that, there's not a great deal of mammals around.
Yeah.
Their diet, as juveniles, is mainly going to be frogs and skinks.
Mm-hmm.
And as adults, they're mainly bird feeders. So I feed them a lot of quail, chicks, stuff like that.
Do you think that it varies the digestive? Like, for example, there's a lot of people that are apprehensive to feed birds because it gives a very watery stool, and they're worried about dehydration.
Yeah.
You know,
I think I mean, we've had this conversation many times, all of us. I'm really into feeding whatever it eats in the wild. Right. I want to feed it that. I don't want to feed it a white lab mouse because it's convenient to me.
Yeah.
It's not evolved to feed that. Boiga, it's not evolved to eat white lab mice. You know, if it's Strachezii, something like that, that only eats lizards in the wild. It's not going to do it any good. Things like Dendrophilia, yeah, they're opportunistic feeders. They will raid nests. They'll be eating fledgling birds. They'll be eating mammals.
Yeah, but they're not doing that every single feeding.
No.
Yeah.
So I will, with my dendros, I cycle feed. But with the water pythons, I try and do quite a lot of bird food. I just think it's better for them. They might. I've got a false water cobra. Liquid shit. It means nothing to me.
Yeah, that's true. I got you. And you feed the false water a lot of fish or no?
For false water cobra, I feed mainly on turkey necks and chicken hearts and things like that.
I can't find chicken hearts, man. I've been trying to find chicken hearts for like 3 weeks.
Yeah, but that's not because of COVID. That's not because they're not available. It's just because people are buying up everything they can.
No, I literally don't see it.
Asian food markets near you, something like that?
We do. I tried to go to it the other day, but they never opened. Like, they had, they're still in business because they had a sign that said you have to wear a mask, but I was there, like, when they were supposed to open, and no one was there. It's very, very strange. I need to go back by maybe tomorrow.
I buy big frozen bags of chicken hearts, big frozen bags of turkey necks. If you have any snake-feeding snake, are fantastic. It's basically like a frozen snake. You know, when you consider the protein bone ratio in a turkey neck, it's like a snake sort of thing. So, it does well on those, and frog's legs as well, which you get from the Asian supermarket.
Yeah, those I definitely want to get to. After talking to seeing what Billy does with a lot of his stuff, and I think a lot of people now are starting to definitely get more into the changing up the diets, and I like it just because, you know, like I've said before on here and probably THP, like if you run out of mice or something, it's awesome that you can have something on standby in case you need something to sort of fill in the gap until you get more mice, or, whatever. Because I mean, there's rat and mice shortages all the time. You know, a lot of companies, for whatever reason, like production is bad across the board, and no one can get a hold of a certain size of rat or mice or whatever. And you know, I like the idea of having that on hand.
It's also seasonal too, because like I can't speak for Nipper in the UK, but at least here, I would say right around the beginning of winter, you're going to see a bunch of people stock up because God forbid there's a blizzard or power outage or whatever, they want to have stuff. And then you're going to see the same thing in the South during hurricane season. You know, right around June, July, you'll see the spike of rats are unavailable. It's because people want to stock up because God forbid they can't get to a pet shop or whatever. They want to have it.
Yes.
Yeah, I think the hobby's going that way. Would you not agree that people are trying to push forward how well they can look after a species, not just can they keep a species now? I think we've gone beyond collecting it to try and actually make the husbandry as good as possible. And part of that is, as Phil's just said, it's a seasonal diet. Some snakes, take pine snakes or whatever, or a lot of the venomous stuff, at one time of the year, they will eat rodents because rodents are available.
Sure.
The other time of the year, they'll be eating migrating birds or something like that. And I think it's just good to mix stuff up. I don't think there's many snakes whose constant diet is mammals.
Yeah. I actually think it's probably a very small percentage.
Yeah. And I think it's also, I use quail, I think, are really good because the consistency of a quail is a lot better than a mouse when you're talking about lean fats to protein, stuff like that. I use for the bigger stuff, like the Apodora, I use whole chickens, feathers on, head on, feet on. And I like wild shot rabbits and things like that. Because they've been feeding, they've been getting the D3 and all that sort of stuff, and that's going to be passed on. Even down to the felsumas. With the felsumas, when I buy insects in, I'm keeping those insects for at least a week before I feed them, because then I'm feeding the insect stuff. And it's the same when I buy the geckos in. I'll buy 50 geckos at a time. I'll keep those geckos for a couple of weeks and feed them, supplement them before I'm feeding them.
Yeah, your gut loading.
And I like more. I see yourself and Ryan Moss keeping the the Langaha. Like, I would like to get those, but at the same time, it's like I'm not dealing with lizards.
I know what you're saying, but it's worth it, mate. Seriously, I'm definitely getting away from heavy boids and going into collybrids, 100%. But just get them. You will not regret it. I've never known a snake that's so interesting to own.
I was just thinking, there's the quintessential taipan book that anybody who loves high-speed Aussie Lapids has that book. It's one of my all-time favorite books. And they mention how, Oxyuranus in the field, if it is living in the cane fields and it is primarily eating rodents to some capacity, whether it be mice or rats or native small marsupials, it's lucky if it gets 10 mice a year.
Exactly.
And at the same time, and assuming that let's just say it's only eating those 10 mice, it's not eating lizards or birds or whatever, that's still a fantastic amount of nutrients for the year.
Yeah. If you look at the inland taipan, and if you look at the habitat that the inland taipan lives in, how many times is that going to feed?
Yeah, right.
What it's going to feed on? It's going to be monitored.
So freaking hot.
Yeah.
Yeah, incredible. It's like, as we all know, as we all say, all captive snakes are so overfed. When I'm herping in Europe and I'm catching vipers, the body shape is so much thinner and more wiry than the stuff that you see in captivity all the time. I'm sure you find the same when you're seeing corn snakes and races and stuff like that out as opposed to kept in captivity. I'm trying to really not limit. I'm trying to really think about how I feed my stuff now. So seasonally, banging the food in the summertime, pre-breeding, really feeding quite heavily. Excuse me.
Coronavirus.
Corona, I'm done for. I'm old. But other times, you should be going months without feeding, really.
Right.
Well, that's funny because I remember I messaged you because my male Cyanea kind of only eats when he feels like it.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, dude, these things are thin. Like, they got to eat. There's no way these things can go long periods without eating. And you're like, dude.
Chill.
Yeah.
He'll be fine. He'll eat when he wants to eat.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, if it were a chondro, I'd be like, whatever. He'll eat in 2 months. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, Cyanea being as thin and small, like, that's
yeah. I mean, do worry because they look like they're half dead most of the time anyway.
It's like my good friend got a Trimersus insularis, one of the blue ones, and it's a male. And it's great body weight, and it's a good-looking animal, and it stopped eating. And it's been like 3 months. I said, listen, man, don't fret it. He's not losing any weight. You see him still drinking some dew from time to time. When he feels like eating, he'll eat. Guess what? He ate last week.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, in the wild, if you look at a corn snake or a pine snake, if you think about seasonality for them, they're going to be hibernating or brumating for 2 or 3 months. They're going to come out of hibernation, brumation, or whatever. They're going to be looking for a mate. They're not going to be thinking about feeding. They're going to be thinking about shagging. Then they'll mate. Then they'll start feeding. They'll have 2 or 3 months where they're packing the food down, and then they'll be thinking about hibernating again. It's not like once a week they get a 10-gram mouse. It's
Well, I had a gentleman who is kind of out of the hobby. His name is Mark Lucas, and he used to be the quote unquote species guy for Strictly Reptiles. So, we get imports from all over the place, and you wouldn't know what the hell it was. And Mark would be like, oh no, that's so-and-so, and it's from this. And he'd have this massive library of books at hand. And one of the things that he taught me was, certain species that are, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to say deciduous, but like those species that go through a definitive season change, like a copperhead, for example.
Mm-hmm.
If it goes into hibernation and it doesn't get any food, it's not going to grow really at all. So it's almost physically impossible to gauge an animal's age in the wild, because you could have 2 snakes. One got 5 mice, the other one got no mice for 6 months. And they're the same age, but one is gigantic and one is not.
Yeah.
And I mean, and I think there's nothing wrong with that smaller one. That smaller one is probably healthier, if anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I always remember that he told me that.
Yeah, anytime I find, unless it like looks like it just came out of the egg, like I usually estimate the age and then tack on an extra, I don't know, probably a year or 2 at least.
Yeah, particularly with wild stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and some of the stuff you can clearly tell. Like if I'm out in the cane fields and I find a 3-inch long pygmy, I know the thing is either just born or maybe it's a month or 2 old at most. But if I find a pygmy that's at least, I don't know, 24 inches, or not even 24 inches, 15 inches, you have no idea if that animal's 10 years old or if it's 2 years old.
I so want to see one in the wild. It's killing me. I just saw a message come up here about feeding langohr.
Yep.
Yeah. At the moment, because the breeding season is starting soon, it's like end of July, beginning of August tends to be their breeding season. I'm really pounding the food down there. So I'm putting in geckos probably every 3 days. Once the breeding season's finished, I shall thin that off to feeding geckos once a week. And then latter part of the year, when it's cooling down, I shall feed probably once every 2 weeks, once every 3 weeks. Just to answer that question.
I'd be curious to see what those look like out of the egg, like if they go through any sort of change or.
Well, at the moment, as you know, I've got a load of house geckos that I just let run wild in the snake building, and every couple of days I'll go in there where they breed so regularly because the snake building is ideal set up for them. I'll find little hatchling house geckos running around the place. So I'm catching all the little hatchling house geckos I can at the moment, and putting them in individual tubs, tiny little tub, and I'm just feeding them up and supplementing them. So hopefully, if I do hatch any eggs, I shall have some very, very small geckos waiting for that. Because if you see the size of them when they hatch out, there is no way you are assist feeding.
Yeah, I mean, they're probably like Andoya, just tiny.
Pretty much. Yeah.
So do you feel like the hatchlings are big enough to eat a complete new hatched house gecko?
Yeah, I would say so, yeah.
Okay, so you're not giving them just gecko tail or just gecko head?
And, I would feed live hatchling house geckos.
Okay.
Or morning geckos. I have a friend that breeds morning geckos for that reason. But morning geckos are great for getting some of the little arboreal vipers going when they first hatch. Yeah.
I actually, I mentioned it to Eric and Owen. I really want to try and get my hands on a bunch of bino geckos because I really want to use them for food. I want to. They're parthenogenic, and I figure if I can have a wide assortment of different life stages. You know,
Uh-huh.
if I have to euthanize and freeze some surplus for rainy days and whatnot, but like I have aspirations of getting back into Death Adders, and
Wow.
I'm tired of doing the pinky head on the alligator clips and just barely.
Yeah.
It's difficult. It's difficult. And no way in hell, or I'm sorry, anybody who assist feeds a newborn Death Adder has a death wish.
Exactly.
They have a death wish.
Yeah.
Henry and I got my friend, the one who actually has the male Gila to our pair. He had a pair of Rugosas, and they were very young, and the mother bred very young because they were in the same cage together. That just happens, And personally, I would have waited like another year or two, but nature did its thing, and she pooped out some beautiful babies. So we got these babies, and Henry and I wound up using a small sponge paintbrush. And basically, we would hold the neonate mid-body, and you'd expect it to thrash, and it didn't. It would just kind of sit there. And then Henry would hold it with the paintbrush, and I would come in with the hemostats or the little alligator clips with a pinky head, with the brain stem kind of coming out the back, and just kind of wiggle it right there. And 50% of the time they'd latch on. The other 50% of the time we'd have to wait till tomorrow.
Yeah. But how much less stressful to just drop a live gecko in there, which is natural for the snake.
Exactly. And binos don't climb. So now I have an animal I have a prey item that can't evade. And I know that sounds horrible, but I have a prey item that can't evade. And in theory, it's going to be able to hunt and ambush on its own.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
100%. I'm all for feeding what it should eat in the wild, rather than just what's convenient for everybody else.
Yeah. I love it. It's great. You all right, Justin?
Yeah, I'm good.
Thought I froze there for a minute.
Nope. The more I think about like a little colony of Turkicus geckos, like the more I want to do it. Some little Mediterranean geckos, like we have them around here.
Bro, you want some? Dude, there's like 15 on this porch. You want them? They're yours.
That would be a fun little colony to get going, and then it's
100%, yeah.
Like if I get that established, like then I would be open to doing vine snakes or langaha.
Oh mate, I love my vine snakes, but I'm a very bad keeper. I cannot believe I got bit by a vine snake.
I forgot about that.
And that was Priscilla, right?
Yeah, and that is just pure
amateur hour.
Amateur hour.
It's luck. It's luck.
Oh, but,
how many times we've all handled Priscilla with their neck puffed out and the tongue coming straight out at you,
Yeah.
And nothing ever happens. And then the one time that Nip does it, he gets nipped.
Exactly. And I may or may not have screamed like a little girl. I'm not going to confirm that. But
no, you did.
It's
not the pain; it's the shock of what you just witnessed.
It was the embarrassment of being such a poor creature. I think. Unbelievably painful. But that aside, great snakes. So so active, so alert.
Yeah.
You walk into the snake room and they're like little snipers straight on you, straight away. Incredible things.
And watching them hunt an anole or a gecko is just so captivating.
It's incredible, and they're so quick. So quick.
Are the langa the same way in terms of like their attack?
No, they're a lot slower. Whereas the vine snakes literally lock on and then they're bang straight on it. The langaha will stalk for like 20 minutes. They'll follow it around the rear slowly. When they strike, they're quick, but they're not as instant as the vine snakes.
Vine snakes are another one that I'm kind of amazed people even bring in anymore, because it's no one really keeps them on any sort of like legitimate level. It's
I've
had
mine now for 18 months. But most people buy them because they're pence at shows and they look really cool, and then they die. Because people won't be feeding them lizards, they're trying to feed them mice because it's easy. But apart from that aside, if you a well-planted humid tank, live lizard food, they're bomb-proof. They're quite hard.
You ever dabble with Oxybellus?
I've not seen them. I'd like to see them, but I've never seen them at a show or anything like that.
I was always told that they're way more toxic than people give them credit for.
I would think so, yeah.
And that kind of put me at arm's distance just because of the way the animal is. I don't want to say I'm not conditioned for that, but like I was just assuming it's like a fast, big Tremercerus, and I don't want to mess with that. You know,
No.
I'm too short for that.
No, they're cool, but I'd like to see them in the wild. I wouldn't want to keep them.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea to get a little gecko colony of Tersicus. I didn't realise you had them where you were.
Yeah, they're introduced, but they're in like small pockets here. Like there's certain parts of town where you can go and find them, but they're not like widespread. You know.
Oh, mate, you should definitely have a little Viv set up with those in it. That'd be cool.
That would be cool, yeah. Just like a little, nothing.
Easy to look after. I mean, when you're bimbling about in there, lights out, it'd be great to see them just interacting with them.
They're pretty little geckos. Like they're really
they are cool. She's gone and caught one.
Sorry, I had a maintenance guy was working on my air conditioner, and I didn't know if my roommate had left or not.
I thought you was going to go and collect a gecko.
No, they're gone. There's none out right now. Sometimes I'll get them on the aluminum siding on the side of the building, but in daylight you can see them. But they all have their nook that they live in for the daylight hours, and then come 9 o'clock at night, they're just everywhere.
I see it like on the building at work. There's a few that hang out under one of the lights, but they're so damn quick. Can't freaking.
And I'm convinced that
just out of reach, so I can't really get them. And then they.
Oh no, I have to get honestly, we get little tiny fishbowl nets. You know what I'm talking about? You buy at the pet store.
Yeah, I got one for my dart frogs for the
and
the froglets out of the tub, the tadpole tank.
They make a really long one for saltwater to get like all the way down to like the bottom of a big saltwater tank. And we have a couple of those, and I'll literally just like a butterfly net, I'll just get it and like drag it down the wall to my height and then just grab them. But I'm actually convinced there's a lot of them that are Mediterranean Asian crosses because
they're definitely Tersicus.
I don't know about mine. Mine are all different.
Mine are definitely.
Say again?
So mine are definitely Turkicus.
Yeah, because we get in Europe as well. The other one which commonly gets transported to other places is Tyrannicus.
Let me look up something real quick.
Look up Moorish gecko.
Oh, we have Moorish. They're in select pockets across South Florida, but that's not the one that you see everywhere. They're like in. It's the same thing with like we have tokays, we have white lines, we have skeleton geckos. They're all just somebody let them loose and they just happened, you know.
It's Florida.
But the typical house geckos we get is what is it? It's Hemidactylus frenatus.
That's a house gecko.
Yeah,
that's an Asian house gecko.
Yeah, that's an Asian house gecko. But we also get these hybrids that have these crazy patterns to them that I'm convinced they're Mediterranean crosses or hybrids or whatever.
I don't know. My plan was to find a 20 tall or something, or 20 long, and then flip it on end and just get like a group of, 3 or 4 of them together in there.
That'd be amazing. That'd be brilliant.
Just deck it out with cork bark and stuff. And
100%.
The only thing is like feeding them. I could probably, I have all those, like the babies are what I'd be worried about as far as feeding and stuff, but I have a bunch of rice flower beetles that would be the perfect size for them. So.
Yeah. The babies, I feed my hatchling house geckos on fruit fly.
Yeah, I got plenty of those too. But
you must have plenty of fruit fly.
I'm on the verge of not feeding the rice flower beetles to the darts anymore because they freaking climb out of like every tank. So they somehow get out. And Katie keeps complaining because we'll find them everywhere.
Yeah.
I don't know how they're traveling and how they're getting where
I've stopped using them. For my darts, I was mainly fruit fly and micro crickets.
Yeah, I only feed them every now and then. I don't feed them very often.
How do adult crickets get out of an exoterra?
They just do.
They just do.
They just do.
I don't understand that.
Yeah, that's the beauty of having a separate building now. I don't have any of that. And
you just dump crickets in there for your geckos, right?
Every so often, I will dump a couple of totes of crickets just on the floor and just let them run because there's so many geckos in there to clear up.
Yeah, I gotta find. There's a few boys that are local that are high school guys, and they catch a ton of geckos for a lot of the local pet shops and stuff. And
you need to get in with them.
Yeah, they get and it's crazy. They have like pool skimmers with like pull ropes on them, and like they have all these rigs that they bring out to apartment complexes, and they literally just like sneak around apartment complexes all day and catch skeleton geckos and Moorish geckos and crocodile geckos. And every once in a while there's a small population about 20-30 minutes south of me that's a very bougie ritzy community, and somebody let standing eye go.
No.
Like 20 years ago. So like if you can sneak into this community and not get caught and trespassed, you can catch yourself some standing eye.
Wow.
Because like they'll come back and they'll be like, we got 4, but they all drop their tails. And it's
I keep standing eye. I love them. I think they're one of the nicest looking Phelsumers.
And they have that good size to them. They're not not frail and wispy.
Nah, they're probably one of the hardier ones. Then it's not a problem for you where you live, but as far as humidity, they can tolerate it a lot drier than a lot of the other Phelsumers can.
Yeah, there's apparently, I didn't know this because I'm not hip to a lot of. There's a lot of native stuff that I never knew existed. Apparently, there's a reef gecko that's found in the Florida Keys, and there's 2 types. There's one that's native and it's heavily protected. You can catch them and play with them and take pictures, but you just can't like take them out of Monroe County. And then there's another version from Cuba that has drifted over and is now having its own population. And I guess the only real way to tell them is to do side by side, because they're so close looking that if you had one in each hand, you could tell the difference. But otherwise, they look like the same gecko. But full grown, they're maybe 20 centimeters, maybe. Okay. Super, super tiny and very cryptic, and they look like the old school boulders of coral that you would see that are reminiscent on the beach. And they live in that like almost that pumice stone dead coral on the shorelines, which I think is very interesting because now they're almost completely reliant on dew in the morning and rainfall collecting in those boulders of coral because everything's saltwater.
You need to go and see them and take pictures.
I know. There's a small species of centipede that lives down there, and it lives in the same, habitat. And depending on the size of the gecko or the size of the centipede, it's who eats who.
It's the same as the selvage gecko. I don't know if you heard of the selvage gecko.
I've never heard of that.
There's an island in the Mediterranean off the coast of Madeira. That'd be the Atlantic or the Mediterranean. That'd be the Atlantic. Called Selvage Island. It's a tiny little island, and there's a species of tarantula that you only get on that little tiny island, and its entire distribution is about 1 kilometer. It's a tiny little thing.
Is that north of Cape Verde?
Yes. So it's literally probably 40 minutes by boat from Madeira. You've got this tarantula that lives there, and the only other thing that lives there is the Selvage Island gecko. And it's exactly the same as what you just said with the reef geckos. Mm-hmm. Tarantulas prey on the adult geckos, and the adult geckos prey on the juvenile tarantulas.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But talking of Cuba, I herped Cuba. It's really good. Yeah, it's really good.
Excellent.
Some really cool species.
That sounds like another article.
I can do that for you.
That would be impressive. And he doesn't smoke cigars.
I did get searched. I'm not going to go into too much, but I did get searched by the Cuban police because they thought I was smuggling cigars out of Cuba. And it was books in my bag. When they put my bags through the X-ray, there's all these boxes in there, and they thought I was trying to take cigars out of Cuba, but they weren't. They was all books on Cuban.
They're overrated.
Are they?
I think
They make
so.
everywhere you go in Cuba, it's come and see our cigars.
I mean, they're good, but
I had a similar issue coming back from Las Vegas for a convention. Those of you who are into guns and stuff, then you know Larry Vickers, and Vickers puts out these beautiful coffee table books of amazing museum quality firearms and these beautifully orchestrated coffee table books, big, heavy, hardback books. And on the cover, it usually has, you know, the prize gun from the book, you know, whatever model gun it's about. And I had met him in Las Vegas, and he autographed a couple books for me, and I brought them back in my luggage. And I guess the X-ray machine they used was so good that it could see the picture of the gun. So they took like a cell phone picture of it, and TSA found me, and they're like, "Sir, you need to come with us." And I was like, "What? Because of my book?" And they're like, "It's a book?" I was like, "Yeah, open the luggage. It's a big coffee table book." Because they see this like little tiny mini machine gun. And I'm like, "What? You think I'm smuggling baby guns?" Like,
Yeah.
so.
Can you? Forgive my ignorance. Can you travel to Cuba or not?
So it's extremely limited right now. I mean, before COVID, there was basically a list of 14 requirements that would, you know, give you validity to go. You could do it for religious reasons. You could do it as part of a photography thing. Like if you were part of like a photography group or you were instructing a photography group, you could do it if you were proving that you were aiding a business that would benefit the government. Like there was a laundry list of reasons. And then you could only go, your visa was only good for X amount of time. And what most people did is the photography thing. And they would say they want to capture, you know, the history of Cuba and the lineage and the old cars and the churches and the mountainside and photography. So most people went and they continue to do it that way. I have a friend who is majorly involved in the local synagogues of South Florida, and he donated money to build a new synagogue in Havana. So him and his family went down there, and they got the white glove treatment going down there. But unless you have a viable reason, you can't just go to Cuba.
Okay. It's a shame because there's a lot of really unspoilt jungle there. And they're really good with their conservation. They're really surprisingly good with their conservation.
yeah, Jeff Lem was doing he did like eco tours there, and I looked into them one day. They were it was kind of expensive. I don't know if he's doing them now, but he was on. Huh? Which part?
That whole last sentence you broke up.
Oh, I was saying they were a couple grand to go, but I don't know if he's doing them now just with all the political back and forth that seem to them constantly. So,
and I know before COVID, there were some cruise ships that were doing like a 2-day cruise, and they had some kind of special privilege that if you went on one of these companies' cruise ships, you could go down but you couldn't venture off on your own. You had to stay at the resort, or you had to stay at the port where they had like all the shopping and restaurants that they wanted you to see.
Okay.
You know.
Well, obviously it's slightly different for us, but no, I had a great time just bimbling about in the jungle. There's a load of cool species there.
Yeah, because they don't have a problem with Europe and the UK. Our countries just can't come to terms with little island nation.
What was Hendrik saying?
He asked. He said he heard you talking about keeping feeder geckos on the NPR episode you were on. Then he asked me if I think it would be something to get chondros started on.
Oh, okay.
My answer is yes. I'd prefer to just try chick down to get them going, rather than have to deal with the gecko thing. Unless I had, like, if I did a Turkicus colony or something, that's one thing. But I just figured it's much easier to get your hands on frozen chicks and use chick down than deal with that.
But now, is that in your opinion? Is it because the ease of procurement of the food? Is it because you're worried about parasites, or is it because you're worried about the snake only wanting reptiles?
Yes to the first two, no to the third.
Okay.
So yeah, it's easy to get frozen chicks. I mean, you can buy them from Perfect Prey down here. It's like $5 for a pack of 5, but shipping's like $25.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, like dealing with like the parasite thing, that's the one thing that worries me the most when I'm feeding lizards is, that's
I got you.
Presumably, the wild diet will be lizards and frogs at neonate stage, though, won't it?
Yeah, skinks almost exclusively. That's why it's so odd that the chick down works so well, because I mean, they're really not even eating birds as adults that much. Just everyone is under this like notion that chondros are like big bird eaters. They're really not. It's getting real over there, Phil. When they're hunting at night, they're coming down from where they're perched in the trees, and they're sitting and waiting for something to walk by, and they do that repeatedly until they get something. But as neonates, they're much lower to the ground. They're eating lizards.
And these skinks are almost entirely terrestrial.
Yeah, they gotta be.
Okay.
But I mean, that's interesting too. David Brahms, with his clutch that he had, I think last year, he was on the hunt for skinks, and we have those little ground skinks, little brown ones that you see in like any section with a lot of leaves on the ground. I ended up catching him one of those and sending it to him for him to try it. I don't think he had any success with it, so I don't know.
Nipper, with any of your atherists, did you ever? I'm assuming you've had wild caughts at some point. Did you ever deworm them at all, or no?
No,
never.
Unless the snake is looking unhealthy,
right?
I think the stress of it is not worth it.
And you've mentioned it on several different shows and several different writings and stuff, and I agree completely. I always ask atheist people because I have personally, not in my collection because I don't do it, but I never deworm atheris because I've seen so many other people that the minute they dose it, in my personal opinion, it also kills something else that might be symbiotic or something else that is good in there, and they crash.
Yeah, I don't think we are aware enough as to the doses and so on and so forth. And I think unless the snake looks like it's suffering, if it's not putting weight on, if it looks dehydrated, if it's a healthy snake that's active, if the stools are healthy and the body weight's good, I personally don't mess with it. The only time I have dewormed have been adult dendrophilia that have come in wild caught. And there again, I didn't do it immediately.
You waited weeks until they were comfortable
before I did it. And let them be used to feeding, let them used to be in their environment, and put some weight on, and then I've done it.
And my thoughts with that are, especially when you're dealing with something like small squams or something like that. I mean, you think about how tiny their kidneys and liver are. It probably doesn't take a whole lot to really do some damage to those with these meds. Even if it's a normal dosage, that's still like a real shock to the system.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think there's always going to be, even if it's captive bred stuff, I think there's a very good likelihood that pretty much any snake is going to have some sort of like nematodes or some small parasite to some degree. Like, they're always going to be present. It's just a matter of, are they detrimental?
Yeah. Well, that's like my mulga that I had. That thing had copious amounts of subcutaneous nematodes. And shy of injecting each worm with a shot of Baytril, which I'm not going to do. First of all, it's a fucking mulga. And second of all, I don't have those hands. I'm not a surgeon. I can't do that. I'm not a vet. Like, that's not my thing. I originally was given bad information, and I gave a Panicure, and I overdosed it on Panicure probably 10, 15 times, and that snake didn't flinch. Didn't do nothing.
That's weird though, because I mean, that medicine, it's fairly safe. Like, you have to really give it a lot to really OD.
Well, I felt like a moron because I was giving it 10 times the dose it was supposed to be because I wasn't thinking. I had the syringe and it was supposed to be 0.01, and I was giving it 10 cc's or whatever it was, and it didn't do anything. And then at the same time, it's a subcutaneous nematode is not going to be cured by, oh, what's up, man? Thank you very much. it's not going to get cured by that. You have to physically remove said worm or inject
Yeah,
it.
it's like the subcutaneous ones. You have to like excise them yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not going to do that to a 4.5, 5 foot king brown. It's not going to happen. Nah.
Never go inside.
Yes, Henry, we know Panicure is super safe because we have a large amount of friends that take it with them to Costa Rica and do shots every night just in case.
Have you seen a lot of people are feeding their Arthurus earthworms?
Earthworms?
Earthworms.
Like neonates?
And adults. Yeah.
You're kidding.
No, it's a lot of my German friends mentioned it to me, and I thought, okay, there's been a lot of stuff on the net, a lot of films on the net in the minute of Arthurus eating earthworms.
Huh. I mean, my squamengers are pretty much garbage disposal units. They'll literally eat anything I give them, which I have to remind myself, don't do that, because they're on a strict, 10-day, 2-week diet.
They do that easily.
Yeah, say they look like they would just pack on weight with no effort.
Yeah.
They look like little mini versions of blood pythons if you feed them too much.
Yeah.
I've seen some fat squams.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Yeah. They all look like they're always gravid.
Yeah.
They just get those vestigial hips.
Yeah.
It's crazy because I actually, I got those Tremercerus recently, so I've been more attentive to my arboreal stuff. And like the 2 squams I have, I've been noticing they do not perch until it's nighttime. And deep nighttime. So like 2 a.m, if I'm still awake, I'll go check on them and they'll be out cruising around or like they'll be sprawled out over something in like the S position.
Yeah.
But if you go in there at like 10 a.m, they're balled up underneath a branch, just on the floor.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I do appreciate though about that whole genus is like when they strike, like they do it with purpose.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's not like Amazon's where it's like I'm tired, just I'm gonna throw half my body at you. Maybe I just want you to go away.
Yeah, or like
guys, it's like like we're ready. Like let's go.
Yeah.
Like seeing Squam just launch its entire body at somebody is hilarious to me. It's just
I used to. I don't have them anymore. I used to keep Punicius. I don't know if you've seen Punicius before. They, for their size, the strike is so fast and so powerful. Almost. Mine were quite large. I used to feed them small rats or large adult mice, and they'd almost burst them when they hit them. Just bang.
Oh yeah. Did you you know the localities of the ones you had?
I don't. I can send you some photos. Maybe you can.
Definitely. Let me see them because I'm growing. They're growing on me. They're not a species I really want to.
It's really nice species. And reasonably available in Europe at the minute. But beautiful golden snakes.
Oh yeah.
I want Porthidium, man. Porthidium. I've always had a thing for those. And Phil, like an episode or 2 ago, was like, those things suck.
I mean, they don't suck. I mean, no snake sucks. All snakes are awesome. It's just not my cup of tea.
Nah. You're getting Jansenite, aren't you?
What's that?
You're getting Jansenite, aren't you?
I am.
Yeah.
Awesome. Absolutely awesome.
That's awesome.
That's why we had Rob on the show on Thursday.
Yeah,
Rob,
I picked up. I picked up 4 a couple of snake days ago for Lawrence Kensington.
Yeah.
And because he lives in Southern Ireland, I had to keep them for about 3 months for him. Oh man, having to give those up was terrible. Beautiful snakes.
I should have mine too, and I got to get everything set up and get everything ready to go, and then we'll be ready to rock and roll.
Great display.
So Lawrence doesn't only keep Somalia?
No,
Lawrence just Boyga, man, he's got all kinds of stuff.
Really? Okay.
He's got, in fact, my male water python he bred.
Oh, nice.
He's got the other thing that I'm after from him. He's got the dwarf form of bull snake, the insular form. Can't remember what island it is. Santa Cruz Island, maybe.
Yeah.
That sounds right. Yeah. He breeds them. He breeds a couple of species of boiga. He is mainly scrubs. I mean, he's got more scrubs than the boy needs, but yeah, he does dabble in some other stuff.
Awesome. Good shit.
Yeah, but he's got Jansen. I think he's got some. What are the red tail ones?
The oxycephalum.
Yeah, he's got those as well, I think.
I'm very excited, man. It's like I was telling Rob, I'm probably overthinking it, but it'll be a good challenge. You know, I don't doubt myself as far as being able to keep them alive and stuff like that. But it's just.
What about temperature-wise? How will you get on with the temperatures?
How will I?
Yeah, in terms of, I don't know how hot it is where you live.
Dude, balls, man. Well, with the humidity, it's literally like 100 plus, usually like 100.
Right. Okay.
It's warm. So humidity, fortunately, I'm not too worried about. Heat, I'm not too worried about. I'm going to put heat panels in with them, but I'm going to rock them low, like upper 70, maybe. Just keep more, just like I do with the chondros and just like I do with the boya. Like I don't shoot for a hot spot. I just shoot for like a lower ambient, just constant regular temperature.
What is the ambient in your room then most of the time?
It stays about 77 or so, sometimes a little warmer.
Okay.
Now you're gonna put the Goniosoma in a larger tub, right?
Yeah, well, I have a 200 quart with a Python portal that I was using for one of the chondros at one point. I'm going to use that for one of them. And then I tried to get a hold of another one. I ordered one online because the Walmarts here are out of them for some reason. It looks like there's a shortage pretty much everywhere on them.
It's because everyone's going back to school.
Huh?
All the colleges, everyone's going back to school. So anyone,
tub.
Right, but what they're doing is that they don't want to buy luggage and boxes, so they get this one big tub. They throw their entire life in the tub, and they're done.
I don't know. I ordered one online, and then when I emailed them after like a week of getting nothing saying it shipped, I emailed them and said, "What's the deal?" And they were like, "Oh, we don't have any in stock. You need to wait more." And so I was like, "No." And so I said, "Give me a refund." They didn't respond, so I just went and filed a claim on PayPal and got my money back. But what I may end up doing is I got 110 quart right here behind me. That guy. And so what I'll probably do is whichever one's the smaller of the two, just put it in that until I can get my hands. Because I have my order from David. I have a Python portal I got to attach and get the glass made for and stuff. But there's no point in going and doing that if I don't have the tub to put it on. So I'm going to go in that until I can get my hands on.
You're putting the radiant heat panel at one end of it?
Yeah.
And now, let's say the ambient in the tub, per se, is 80. Is your cold side 4 to 6 degrees cooler, or is the whole tub going to be 80?
From what I have, that's how I have my Boiga set up pretty much. They have a heat panel on one end, and those tubs are maybe 3 or 4 feet long, probably closer to 3 actually. So like I said, because of that, because it's not a ton of length, there's not a huge gradient, I just keep them at a lower temperature. So yeah, I mean, I'm planning to keep them anywhere around like 80-ish, and then just kind of let the ambient temperatures do their thing. I like ambience. I don't have the option to do like a higher ambient temperature in my room, and I'm okay with that because I don't want to be working on cleaning cages in an 85-degree room.
Yeah.
Like, I just prefer to have like a microclimate in the sense where each tub kind of has its own, like it's a stable single temperature. There's not a huge gradient. And
yeah.
With the Boiga, it's worked out fine. You know, they have their hides mounted to the top, which I'm going to do on the Jansenii as well. I got some big hides to put on the floor. I got the hides to put on the lid. And then that'll be a kind of a good way for them to get away from the heat too, because like you have the heat panel on one end and then I have the elevated hide on the other. And I don't know. It's where I'm going to keep it pretty much the exact same way I'm keeping the Boiga. I feel like that's probably pretty solid way to go, since I'm sure their ranges overlap with, dendros and cyanea and some other stuff, so they should be fine. But I also have these manzanita branches that come with like a washer, like what you get for birds comes with a washer wing nut. And what I did with the Boiga is I have one on each end coming through the inside, and that's like Rob was saying, using more of the empty space between the floor and the lid, because I'm in complete agreement with him that you can you can have a smaller size cage. It's just, are you using all the space in that cage efficiently?
Right.
That was with dart frogs too.
You're doubling surface area.
Right. Was, with dart frogs, like people always say, how many tanks can I keep in a 20 gallon? And people are always going to tell you 2. And it's like, yeah, that's probably a fair assessment. But at the same time, if you don't have anything but plants and cork bark on the floor, and you don't have anything sort of filling up that space, you can probably keep 3 or so in a smaller tank, as long as you just have the spaces for them to get away from each other, and you're utilizing all the vacuum.
Where'd you buy those perches?
eBay.
Okay, because I tried looking for them for the Tremerceros, and I can't find them at any pet store in South Florida.
eBay, yeah.
Okay. What were you still going to say, Nipper?
I was just going to say, what are your thoughts on feeding them? What are you going to do for diet?
On the Jansenii, mice to start until I can get my hands on, the other stuff I was wanting to get. I think you said they were big on rats, right? Someone told me. I think it might have been Harlan. Harlan said rats. They seem to definitely go for rats a little more.
Do you get quail where you are, or is it not available?
I'm sure I can. It's, they'll probably be live. So, but I don't know. I definitely, like I said, for everything, I want to offer a more varied diet. It's just a matter of finding the right stuff to be able to do it.
Yeah, cool. I'm jealous. Something else that's on the list, things for me to get, I think.
Yeah,
my plan is to get them, ignore them for at least the first 2 weeks or so, which is what Billy also advised, because Billy's kept some of the gonios. And,
yeah.
He said just ignore them, maybe check in on them every once in a while, make sure they got water and all that stuff, make sure they're not soaking too much, and, just leave them be, because just like the boiga, they're not a play with me kind of snake. Like, they're just high strung. They're not. Anytime I mess with my boiga, I can tell they're so over it. Once they wake up and they're kind of aware of what's going on, they're like, F this, dude, I'm getting out of here.
Yeah, 100%.
Same thing with those guys.
So I keep what were you going to say?
I was going to say, I'm hoping there's supposed to be a shipment coming in towards the end of this month, and I've pre-booked some stuff off it. Whether it happens or not, I don't know. But I'm hoping to get some Pitaias carinata from it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've never kept any Pitaias before, so this will be completely new for me. So that'll be exciting.
Uncharted territory.
Uncharted territory, big snakes. So that'll be cool.
I was meaning to bring this up on this because I got both of you guys here. I was talking to Billy recently because he has a bunch of Pitaias too that he's setting up and choreographing how he's going to have the Vivs. And when my friend Marcus had the Sun Gazers down in Miami, one of the things we did was a man-made burrow for them that had a window for the humans to look into the burrow, and there was a small little red LED light so that it wouldn't bother them. But he got one-way glass. So when you look in the one side, it looks like it's just tinting, and then the other side is crystal clear. So we could see them and they couldn't see us. And I was thinking, I told Billy, I was like, listen, on these new enclosures that you're designing for the Pitaias and whatever else, let's say you have a sliding front, right? Like a vision cage. If you were to do a film that goes over the glass of your door, or even like an Exoterra, you do the film on the glass so that the snake can't see out. It just sees a black wall or a gray wall, or even if it's a light diffuser that makes it difficult to look through, makes it opaque, where it could maybe see shapes, but it can't see, your Labrador walk by, And now the snake is even more comfortable because it feels more secure. It feels like it's in a burrow or a hide or whatever. And then obviously when you open the door, it's going to see you. But I feel like that would be a faster transition for them to chill out and de-stress upon getting the animal, and even keeping the animal. And I'm wondering if anybody makes that, or if we could make that. Because you can't do mirror. You can't do like one-way mirror, like in an interrogation room, because then the snake's going to see itself all the time, and that's all the thing.
Just tape wax paper over it.
Yeah, but see, I feel like that would work in terms of being opaque, but I feel like still the shapes and the shadows.
Do 2 layers of wax paper over it.
Yeah, because I mean, like for example, like some of my nausea, I'll come in with the hemostats with a rat, and it's not attacking the prey item; it's attacking the shadow of the prey item. Because it doesn't see the mouse or the rat on the tweezers, it's seeing this ominous shadow that it wants to defend itself from.
I don't know. Like I've done that because I remember that one male conjure that I had that was in one of those 200 quarts, the one that's actually empty now, and he, for whatever reason, got weird with food and like stopped eating and just very bizarre, like out of the norm behavior. And I moved him into a smaller tub, and then I just took a paper bag and cut it so that I could like flay it out basically, and then just wrapped it around the sides.
Yeah,
and that did help, and that's a simple solution if you're just looking for something sort of temporary.
Yeah, but that's like what Nipper said with using newspaper to cover it up. Like, yes, it works, but it's unsightly, And how long before you're like, okay, it's been 2 months, time to take the newspaper down. I want to see my animal. I want to see the enclosure that I made. And then he starts bashing his face in the glass again. And you're like, oh, here we go again,
I mean, I'll do it as long as I have to. If it has to be permanent, so be it. I don't care. As long as the snake's healthy and happy.
Yeah.
If that works better for them, then so be it.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to sound heartless and say like, oh, I don't care about the snake's well-being. I want to see him. You know what I mean? I was thinking if there's a way that we can get both of those things together where we can visually see this beautiful enclosure that we've made, and the snake has no idea that we're looking at him.
I mean, the best thing to do with the nausea, whatever you want to call them, is to just open the door and stick your head in there and see what it's doing.
Yeah, that's how you do the kiss of death, right? Just
yeah.
Yeah, Henrik, that's good, man. That's a good idea. You're saying use it, car window tint.
It is time. I must end it.
Well,
girls,
it's a hell of a show. I love it.
It will not be the last.
What's that, Nip?
I was saying a pleasure to talk to you two chaps, as always.
Awesome, man. I cherish every minute with you guys. I love it.
Wow. Angel. I shall catch up with you soon, no doubt.
Nipper's gonna cry. He's tearing up.
I'm getting a little choked up myself.
Okay. If you could both just stop sending me nudes now, that would be great.
Never.
Okay.
I love you both. Have a good day.
I've pinged you pictures of those Punicius for you to have a look at.
Excellent. I'll check them out right now. Awesome.
Sweet.
I really appreciate that. And I'm going to look at that doll's whip snake too.
Oh yeah, check that out. It's you'll want one as soon as you see it.
All right, cool.
Go figure.
See you soon, Chad.
Have a good evening.
Bye-bye.
Why are you still here? Oh. So that's it. Thank you. See y'all again next week. Herpetoculture Network. It's all Snakes and Stogies Herpetoculture podcast, said magazine, and ContraCast, all now rolled into one. So see y'all later.